What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I'm your host, Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Brittany Brombacher.
Hello.
And back from Europe, it's Christine Steimer.
Oh my god. Hi.
Hi.
Did you miss me?
Of course we missed you.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
It was good.
Oh. No, I was going to say, I've told you, I think, like, at least 10 times since I've seen you, how much I've missed you and your little snarky remarks.
Have
I
you?
have. In the bathroom?
I remember once.
Okay,
10
maybe
times
twice.
is
It
a
was
lot.
twice. It was twice. I was exaggerating. I was trying to be funny, and you called me. See, this is exactly why I miss you. Gone are the sunshine
Someone's
and
going to
rainbows.
call you out on your shit.
The awkward jokes are back, everybody. But in seriousness, we did miss you. We're glad that you're back. And all three of us are together. If you guys are watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames, you can see that we are in the same room doing our final shoot together in my weird office setup that I have going on here.
I like the couch,
This
though.
couch is super cute.
It's very
Thanks.
soft.
I looked and looked and looked for the right couch. And when I saw this one, I was like, ooh, it's pink and gold. Done.
Nailed it. Let's go.
Yeah, it spoke to me. So I really like it. It's
very,
smooth.
very soft. I feel, okay, for those of you listening, it's like the hide of a Clefairy. That's what I imagine it would feel like.
Ooh.
Do you know what a Clefairy is?
I don't.
It's a beautiful fairy type Pokemon.
pink.
It's pink
Velvet.
and fluffy.
I like Claire.
Although not
Clefairy
really
hide.
fluffy, but the tail looks like it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, you skinned a Clefairy, you monster.
Oh my gosh, please. Anyway, we're glad that you guys are joining us, whether it's episode 1 or episode 132.
Oh
We
my
are happy
God.
that you're here.
So old now.
I know, 132 weeks of What's Good Games.
Wow.
It's a lot of weeks,
I need
right?
to get a life.
What?
That was a joke. It was a bad, awkward joke. I just wanted to get a reaction out of you.
We all know how this episode is going to go.
It's going to be a shit show.
And we're glad that you guys are here for it. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started with the news. We did our Patreon exclusive streams yesterday. We hope that you guys joined us, but if you didn't, you can of course watch the archives by finding those links at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We finished Man of Medan, hopefully. And we answered your questions in our happy hour Q&A. It was great. I'm just going to call it. It's going to be great.
It was great.
It's gonna be a good old time.
If you can't tell, we are shooting this episode before the streams actually happened.
Yeah.
So we're just predicting. Well, I'm predicting.
It's going to be a good time.
Yes, that we know for sure.
Yeah.
Like locked in.
Locked and loaded.
I also guested on friend of the show, Naomi Kyle's show last week in gaming. So she used to do the show on her YouTube channel, and now she is partnering up with Caffeine TV. And I went to her studio and we recorded it live. But if you missed it live, you can catch it on Naomi's YouTube channel, of course, youtube.com/Naomi Kyle. And we talked about all kinds of things. We talked about how What's Good Games got started. We talked about working in the industry. We talked about work-life balance with your partner, all kinds of fun stuff. So you guys can check that out and make sure you let Naomi know that What's Good Games sent you. And we'll be doing our Patreon-sponsored Mythic Patron segment at the end of the show. I believe we're talking about Thanksgiving foods.
Thanksgiving food and our
man.
favorite console launches.
Ooh.
That nice little treat together.
Spoilers, it wasn't this week. Okay. Thank you to this month's Patreon producers, Alyx, Rigopulous, Chewy, Godson, Faris Attieh, and Mohammed Mohammed. And welcome to our Patreon community, Emilio Cruz, Richie, Taylor Haynes, Anakin JMT.
Okay, hold on. I put this together when I was very tipsy last night. So let me just make sure that's the proper spelling. But continue on.
I
Okay.
would laugh if it wasn't.
Andrew Bittner, John, Alyssa Loomer, Michael Amsden, and Dean Horton. Welcome to patreon.com/whatsgoodgames, where you can support everything that we do here. And in case you missed it, we have been under construction on a new studio. So if you guys want to help us fund that new studio, Patreon is the best place to do that.
Okay, it is Anakin Jmt.
Do you think the JMT stands for something?
It could. Or it could just be Anakin Jmt.
Maybe that's it.
Anakin Skywalker. Your only hope. I know that's not right. Don't hurt me.
No,
Don't hurt me. I know.
Anakin is not the
It's
hope. of
Obi-Wan
the
Kenobi,
Republic.
like we met in Destiny 2 last night.
I was showing Brittany Destiny 2 on Stadia, which we're going to be talking about later on in the show, and I ran into somebody named Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Amazing. Also, now I want a cannoli.
I got a kick out of it, and I took a bunch of photos, screenshots, because I was just like, oh my god, your screen name is so funny. All right, let's get into the news, shall we? But before we do that, I have to tell you it's brought to you by Logitech. And we are featuring one of their fancy brand new Pro X headsets that I believe Steimer has right over here.
I'm gonna
Show
Vanna
and
White
tell.
this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's actually, you guys, the weight of this is really nice because it's not as heavy as a lot of the really chunky headsets are. So when I put it on, it feels much more comfortable to wear for longer periods of time, because we've all been there when we've been wearing a gaming headset for too long. Your head starts to hurt, but you're still playing, or you don't want to take it off. And you don't have that problem with the Pro X. So let me tell you guys a little bit about it. So it's designed in collaboration with and for pro gamers for advanced comms and precision audio. This is the first Logitech G headset to feature the Blue Voice microphone technology. It gives you the choice of real-time voice filters to reduce noise, add compression and de-essing, and ensure that your voice sounds richer, cleaning, and more professional. A little aside, we use a special de-esser compression filter in our What's Good Games audio edits every week. De-essing is great. Anyway, continuing on. Feature soft memory foam ear pads wrapped in premium leatherette or breathable velour to keep you comfortable no matter how long the game goes on. So it comes with the velour set, so you can swap them out if leatherette isn't your thing. Pro X has some serious next-gen surround sound, and the version 2.0 takes 7.1 channel surround sound further than ever with enhanced bass rendering, audio clarity, and proximity cues. And most importantly, a new level of distance awareness differentiates between near-field and far-field audio, so you can pinpoint your enemy's location more quickly and accurately than ever. Pro X joins a complete set of Logitech G gear, developed in close collaboration with top esports pros. With Logitech G's most advanced tech and focused design, nothing gets in the way of winning.
Whoa.
For a limited time, Logitech G is offering What's Good Games listeners 10% off their products at logitechg.com. You got to use that promo code What's Good for 10% off today. That's 10% off all Logitech G products if you purchase from logitechg.com with the promo code What's Good. Don't forget that promo code What's Good. It's important. We're big fans of Logitech G products. We've been working with Logitech since What's Good Games launched, so it's really exciting to work with them as an official sponsor. The camera that we're using right now to record the show is a Logitech Brio. The keyboard that I have on the production desk is the Logitech G wireless keyboard. So we love Logitech stuff. Did you have something you would like to add?
No, I was trying to get the camera to refocus.
To focus. Yeah, this is the one issue when you have multiple people in front of a 4K camera. It's like, who do I focus on first? Me. Well, obviously, Britt.
Look how my arm looks broken.
Is it because of the way your elbow bends?
Yeah, it's all like weird. Look at that. Anyway, fun facts.
It just looks like you're waiting for the internet to high five you. Steimer is holding up her hand to the camera to try to get it to pop into focus. And if you want to see it, youtube.com/what'sgoodgames.
Subscribe.
Okay. So this week, you may have seen that the Game Awards have announced their nominees for 2019. I want to remind everybody that What's Good Games is proud to be a member of the voting jury for the Game Awards. We submitted our nominations. And sadly, a lot of things we nominated didn't make the cut, which is a first. Because I feel like when we've nominated in years past, we align pretty similarly with what the nominees kind of net out at. But this year was a wild year.
Yeah.
So, Brittany, you want to...
Or it wasn't, because Outer Wilds got the shaft.
I mean, they did get the Outer Wilds did get the shot. They got a couple noms, but not as much as I think a lot of people were hoping they would get.
Okay, so in case you weren't aware, you can go to thegameawards.com/nominees and log in using Facebook and Twitter, and you can vote for your game of choice. Right. Or you can just go to Google and search for TGA vote, and you can also vote that way. And the voting ends December 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Okay, so... obviously, we can't go through all of these because we'd be here 30 days and 30 nights. But the main one, obviously, is Game of the Year. So your nominees are Control, Death Stranding, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and The Outer Worlds.
Not to be confused with The Outer Wilds.
Yes.
Different game.
It was unfortunate that those games came out in the same year. But I think that this is a pretty good lineup. I think that it's interesting to me that Control made it in for Game of the Year. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it and really liked it. I just don't think it has a shot at winning this category.
No, and it's hard because when you think about your game of the year, right? I think about last year where you had like your critical game of the year and then your personal game of the year. I think for a lot of people, Control definitely deserves to be up there from a personal perspective, but from a technical perspective, which is where I feel like the critical game of the year judging comes in. I had way too many issues with that game, so I'm very surprised to see it up here.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, we didn't really nominate Control for a lot of things. I mean, I enjoyed my time with the game, but it didn't stick with me the way it clearly stuck with a lot of the other judges on the panel. I think it's an interesting thing to note, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being in this category, because that game released in December of 2018, thus it wasn't eligible for last year's Game Awards, but was eligible for this year. And Jeff was really great about reminding people to look at games that came out in December of last year to make sure that we were considering them for nominations in all categories, not just Game of the Year. So I think it's no surprise that Smash is up there because it was so wildly popular and very well received critically. So we'll definitely see more from Smash and the rest of these nominees, but
I'm just sad that Fire Emblem didn't make it because I think that game is amazing.
Fire Emblem, I think, really got shafted as well in a lot of these categories.
It made I'm trying to find it on here.
Didn't it make Best Strategy?
I think it was strategy, yeah.
That's it. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's on Best Strategy Game. Yeah, it was interesting because I polled a lot of our communities, the Facebook fan page and Twitter, and a lot of people are like, "Where's Fire Emblem?"
I know, it was such a good game.
I would have.
That was probably one of my favorite games of this year.
Yeah.
Was Fire Emblem.
Yeah, same. But maybe it was too niche. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why it's not here, but it's not, and that makes me sad.
I'm assuming like not enough other people played it.
Yeah.
Or forgot about it. I don't know.
How could you forget about Claude?
I don't know.
Jeez Louise.
I think what was tough for us when we were doing our nominations, because I mean, we also were looking at Devil May Cry 5 for Game of the Year as well, and a lot of people were like, why didn't that make it in? I think it was just a really interesting selection of games. I think last year there was a couple like shoo-ins for Game of the Year, like Spider-Man, like God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, right? That it was I think an easier nomination process, whereas this year I think it was really more difficult because of the different style of games and because there wasn't truly a game that got 10s across the board or 9s and 10s across the board from most of the voting outlets.
Yeah, it's so many different genres of games, but they're all equally well received, right? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's why it was hard. This was
I think
a weird
the
year.
one that I find interesting, and I haven't played it yet because when I went to Europe, I played nothing. So I've been gone for like a month. Is Death Stranding, only because that game was so divisive, and it seems like even if you really thought it was interesting from a storytelling perspective, I feel like there's still that criticism of like the gameplay of it. So I'm surprised about it making Game of the Year. I feel like game direction and all that other stuff would make sense, but to me, just based on what I have seen people talking about, I kind of don't really understand it being Game of the Year. I feel like that is a miss for me.
No, I think the three of us are certainly aligned on that. I know that there's been a lot of people stumping in the Facebook fan page of What's Good Games that Death Stranding is the be-all, end-all of video games. And I want you to keep enjoying your life, balancing your load, swimming across.
Balancing your load.
I mean, like, that's what you do.
No, I know, but it's just... That's not a thing you want someone to say, though. I feel like it's...
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to chat with you ladies when we cast our votes. Obviously, I'm gonna be shooing for a Resident Evil 2 remake.
That to me is the standout here, and I think we've been saying that all year long, that it's Resident Evil 2's to lose, and I still feel that way. I look at this list and go, what is like the best game in this list? And that's to me still Resident Evil 2. Not my favorite game, but the best game.
Right, and that's kind of where the distinction comes in.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on, shall we? What other ones should we talk about? Let's talk about narrative. I love that Plague Tale Innocence made it into this category. Also, Disco Elysium, which is interesting. And then we've got Control, Death Stranding, and The Outer Worlds. I think The Outer Worlds is going to be the bridesmaid of this Game Awards. I don't think the Outer Worlds is actually probably going to walk away with any awards.
Yeah.
I mean, like Spider-Man last year, right? Like Spider-Man missed in almost
Spider-Man,
all the categories.
Spider-Man was hard last year. I felt so bad for them. Because like that game was amazing and I had so much fun with Spider-Man and it got nothing.
Nope, nothing.
I'm looking at this. I think my favorite narrative would be the Outer Worlds, though.
Yeah, but I feel like Death Stranding's gonna take that.
Yeah,
As much as like I have issues with Death Stranding, the narrative I thought was really well done. Weird,
it's very
but well
weird.
done.
I feel like that's every Kojima game though, where it's like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Points for creativity.
Exactly. I think it's a really cool looking at the different, the selection or the diversity of selection, I should say, with Best Art Direction. We've got Control, Death Stranding, Grease, which also was like a late 2018 release. So I'm glad that one snuck in there. Sayonara Wild Hearts, which everyone has been raving about this year. And then we have Sekiro and then Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening coming in Art Direction.
Absolutely. That game is so freaking cute.
I like Gris though. That was like
Best art.
beautiful.
I
loved
agree.
that
Yeah.
style.
I think this is such a tough category because a lot of this category is super subjective.
Oh, totally.
Right.
It's just like, what kind of art style do you like? There you go. Pick it.
Yeah.
Can you ladies explain to me? Because maybe I'm just not understanding. What about Control's art direction is making it?
I think the world building that they did through art is really what got it nominated here. If you think about how they created all of the different assets within the house, right? And how they really kind of gave it this unique feel where it really kind of felt very much not only like a Remedy game, but also like its own unique world.
Yeah. I guess when I think of art direction, though, I think of the uniqueness of Link's Awakening, of Grease, of the realism of Death Stranding. To me, Control didn't do anything from a graphical perspective, but maybe I'd have to reread, because I mean, we nominated in this category too. I'd have to reread what the actual description is for best art direction.
Sure. Let me look that up, shall I?
While you're doing that, let's look at games for impact because I feel like that's always an interesting category.
All right.
You read it, Britt.
We got Concrete Genie, Grease, Kind Words, Life is Strange 2, and Sea of Solitude.
Those are all very solid games.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. That to me is like a really tough category. That's going to be a tough vote.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So Life is Strange 2, Grease are the only ones that I've played.
Concrete Genie is really cute.
It's amazing. Also, like for me though, the biggest emotional impact of these games is Sea of Solitude. We talk about games for impact. I'll get to the art description in a second, but the games for impact is for a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. And so I think that obviously Life is Strange, we love Life is Strange. We've been big fans of it, since the original. I've done a lot of work with that team and I've loved this season, but there's just something about how moved I was playing Sea of Solitude that I really want to.
Well, I think it's also something different, right? We've seen Life is Strange before. It's not the same story, obviously, and I do think this story is more impactful than the first season, I would say. They tackle a lot more heavy topics. But that being said, obviously Sea of Solitude was a completely different experience for you, so I think that's probably where it's coming from.
And if you guys haven't played it, highly recommend you check it out. It's not a very long experience. I think it took me like 3 to 4 hours or something like that. So
My perfect video game.
right? Finish it in a night.
Oh my god, you feel so accomplished. It's so good.
So just to pivot back to art direction really quick. So the description is for outstanding creative and technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Now, I think that it's unfortunate that Jeff combined these categories because animation and art direction used to be different categories, if I'm not mistaken. Because to me, if we're talking about an animation category, hands down Infinity Ward wins with Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I have never in my life seen animation like that in a video game. It is like unreal how fantastic looking that game is. Like it just is like jaw-droppingly gorgeous throughout the entire campaign. Like I've never seen cutscenes look like that before. I think the last thing that was as impactful to me as that game was from an artistic perspective was probably Horizon Zero Dawn, because I thought they also did a phenomenal job with their Decima engine, the team at Guerrilla.
Yeah, no, that game was Really well done. I'm actually surprised Devil May Cry got the shaft here.
Right?
Because that game is all about style, which
Yeah, it's
both in terms of animation and the way that they move, and then also just stylistically and how everything looks is really unique and interesting. So
I guess Control had some weird, crazy physics things that were animated that you haven't really seen in games before. So maybe that's
it's probably more of the technical
Yeah,
side for
yeah.
Control.
I can see that. Okay, cool.
No, it's okay. You can just say that you don't agree with it. I don't. Continue on, Brittany. What's next? What do you want to talk about? Which of these categories?
I love you. Best score and music is kind of interesting. So you have Cadence of Hyrule, Death Stranding, Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Sayonara Wild Hearts.
So this includes score, original song, and or licensed soundtracks.
I can see why. Okay, I haven't played Sayonara Wild Hearts nor Kingdom Hearts 3, but I can definitely see why the first three are here. Cadence of Hyrule took the Zelda soundtrack, the iconic songs, and remixed it in a way that felt unique and new and obviously fit very well with the gameplay of that game. Death Stranding has licensed music out the wazoo.
Yes.
It's always playing, which I could point to.
I think that they took a licensed soundtrack and used it in a more innovative way than I've seen anybody else do. We did see Red Dead Redemption 2 do some interesting things with their soundtrack, but I thought it was not nearly as prevalent as what, Kojima Productions was doing with their soundtrack for Death Stranding. And I really do love the Death Stranding soundtrack. I think that it was really well put together. I think there is absolutely an art form to working with licensed music and sourcing and placing music within creative works that is underappreciated. However, I'm with you that Cadence of Hyrule is really kick-ass.
Really good. And then Devil May Cry 5. Yeah, I can see that too.
Pull
my devil trigger. That's my version of the
Great
song.
job.
You can license that and put that in your game, Capcom.
You have permission.
All right, what else do you want to talk about?
Best performance.
Sure.
All right, we got Ashley Birch as Parvati, Courtney Hope as Jessie Faden from Control, Laura Bailey and Ashley Birch is
Laura.
from Outer Worlds, Laura Bailey as Kate Diaz, Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff from Death Stranding, Matthew Porrata as Dr. Casper Darling in Control, and Norman Reedus as Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding.
This is a very stacked category.
Yeah.
Honestly, any of these people could win. But I feel like people are going to vote for Mads.
Mads or Norman.
I thought Norman was great. I think Mads was probably better, but
everybody loves Norman Reedus.
it's true.
That's
It's
very
true.
true.
And I feel like he would be the one person besides Laura Bailey that would actually show up.
Yes. Yeah, Mads ain't coming to the Game Awards.
I mean, Ashley does come from time to time.
Oh, Ashley would be
It would
there.
be cool to see her there, but I feel like, Jeff and Norman are pals, and so he would call me. He'd just pop on over.
He'd be like, hey, what up?
Parvati is
I'm
so
here with my
precious.
unwashed hair.
I know, she's so good.
And Ashley did such a good job of playing that character.
Yeah.
So good.
I really want Ashley to win. I sadly don't think she has a chance,
Yeah. Norman Reedus.
which is a bummer.
All right. I'm just kind of looking through more of these. Anyone?
Yeah, we've
flip
got
or
the
skirt?
usual
think-
suspects
yeah.
with online games. I do think it's interesting that this year Jeff added best community support. So this is a new category for this year, recognizing a game and studio for outstanding community support and transparency, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. Now, I thought that this was a really great thing for him to do because games as live service are becoming ever present and becoming a bigger and bigger slice of the gaming landscape. And so being able to recognize studios for the work that they do to maintain their relationship with their communities, both through gameplay and just through social interactions, I think is a really interesting idea. So in this category, we've got Apex Legends with Respawn and EA, Destiny 2 with Bungie, Final Fantasy 14 with Square Enix, Fortnite from Epic, and then Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege with Ubisoft Montreal.
I feel like Fortnite's just going to win this, but it would be awesome to see Apex Legends win this one.
I think Apex is an interesting case because they've had kind of a love-hate relationship with their community this year.
Yeah.
And that's not on Respawn. That's on the community working with Respawn. It's like, they make one small change that the community doesn't like and there's this backlash. For me, and I know that I'm really close to this, which is why I want to talk about Destiny 2, but I think when Bungie left Activision, they took control of their community engagement in a way that was really refreshing, that felt really authentic. They were more open and transparent than they ever had been when they were underneath Activision's umbrella. And they really made an effort to talk to their community, and not just through releasing gameplay updates and really rallying people around Shadowkeep. But if you look at even like what Luke Smith did with his director's cut when he like released this like manifesto, in the summer before Shadowkeep came out, I think that Bungie did a standout job with community support. And of course, like Epic is, kind of a shoo-in for this award as well.
Yeah. But they're all doing a great job. I don't follow.
I mean,
Rainbow Six
honestly,
Siege enough to-
I don't follow all these communities, but I definitely have heard enough to know that all of these studios are doing a really good job with community support. So
that would be telling though if Bungie did win this. They split from Activision, and now it's like you did the thing.
Yeah, man.
because they used to be. I haven't paid attention honestly since they split from Activision, but when they were with them, I was like, oh no, like a lot of their messaging was just written as if 15 PR people had edited the thing. Yeah. And then it got to a place where it didn't even really make any sense.
It's true. And I think that's what's so great about where they're at now is that they only have to answer to themselves. And there's something very liberating about that, and something, of course, very terrifying about that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. If you mess it up, it's now on you. Like, there's no more scapegoat there. It's your fault if something happens.
Yeah. I think it would be the most impactful if Bungie wins. So Bungie, you win, please.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. You win. Is that how it works?
Brittany just decides. That's all it is.
You win.
Okay, let's go over the genre games. Since those are always, I think, really hotly contested every year. We can just skip the AR and VR category for now. Best action. Read them.
We got Apex Legends, Astral Chain, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Devil May Cry 5, Gears 5, and Metro Exodus. Oh, Metro. I feel like everyone kind of forgot about that one. Yeah. I'm happy it was nominated because clearly not everyone has forgotten about it, but that was a great game.
This is tough because the action games are so different, right? Like if you look at Astral Chain next to Gears 5, right?
Yeah.
Just wildly different kinds of games.
I think Devil May Cry 5 will win this one. That's my
I think you're right. I think it will too. I think people are going to say it got shafted from Game of the Year.
Also, like when I think action, that's the game I gravitate toward most versus all the other ones. Because as you said, we've kind of smashed a lot of genres into action at this point,
right?
But I still think that people inherently think when they think action, they think of something like Devil May Cry.
Right.
So in the voting, I do think that that's the way it would go.
I feel like Call of Duty just never wins any of these awards.
No, they don't.
It's the same song and dance, but kind of, but not really.
I'm glad that they're nominated, and I think Activision has like probably thrown off the idea of caring about these awards. I'm sure the devs care and the devs want to win, absolutely. But it's tough because no matter how well Call of Duty does, and they clearly had a standout year this year with Modern Warfare. Like people just still love to hate Call of Duty as a game.
That's true. Even though
it's
they're rolling in
unfortunate,
that
but
money.
It's very in vogue.
I roll Best Action Adventure Game, Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2 Remake, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice.
I honestly don't know how Link's Awakening got in there.
No.
It's kind of weird.
That's why I read that. I was like,
whatever.
That's an odd one. I mean, cool.
Little baby boy Link hanging out.
It's hard because when you look at a game like Borderlands 3, like where does this game belong? And that was something we struggled with. I don't know what category we nominated it.
We nominated it in RPG, I believe.
Yeah.
And
we nominated it in action game because I reached out to Jeff and asked him and said like, hey, like, what are you classifying this game as? Because it's clearly a hybrid, and so is Destiny too, right? Like if we're gonna nominate Shadowkeep for anything, it's like, is it an RPG? Is it an action game? Like, there's definitely a case to be made for calling it an action adventure as well. And so it's tough when games like cross genres. I mean, I think Borderlands is also, much like The Outer Worlds, is not going to win anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that because the general consensus was, while it's a step up, it's just more of the same.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not worthy of awards, worthy of praise. But I wouldn't say, oh my God, you did something amazing, better than any other game this year. So let's see. Who do you think is going to take this one?
I honestly think it's probably going to go to Death Stranding.
Yeah, I think so.
I wanted to go to Resident Evil 2 Remake because I think when you think action adventure combining traversal with puzzle solving, that
that's Death Stranding.
that's I know, but it's also Resident Evil 2.
I know, but you think traversal. I'm sorry, you think those green rolling hills and puzzle solving, balancing all that fucking cargo on your back. It's a constant puzzle, constant traversal. So it like totally fits the bill.
But it doesn't do it the best,
No,
okay?
I know, I'm with you. Oh, trust me. But I just think that's kind of funny. Yeah, I guess. But it...
See, I think this is another one where Sekiro probably could have been in the combat, in the action category.
Yeah, that's what
right?
I thought, yeah.
But, I mean, there is obviously a lot of other types of gameplay elements in Sekiro as well, but...
I think it's going to go, like, I'm with you, Death Stranding, but I think Resident Evil 2 deserves it. And you did good, Link's Awakening, good job. You got nominated.
You made it in there somehow.
You
By
get
the
a
skin of your
gold
teeth.
star. Best RPG, Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy 14.
Wait, okay, don't do that. I can't understand you.
Sorry, Final Fantasy 14.
Like what?
Kingdom Hearts 3, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and The Outer Worlds.
Wait, what was the first one you said?
Disco Elysium.
Okay, I was like, I can't.
Disco Elysium.
This is it. We did this stick briefly on last week's episode.
Oh God,
Anyway.
rip.
How
everyone's ears.
about that Shaft on Fire Emblem in the RPG category? We actually internally had a bit of this debate. Steimer's like, it's a strategy game, and Brett's like, it's an RPG. I think it's clearly an RPG strategy game,
Yeah,
but
Man,
it's
I
not
don't
in this
remember
category.
debate. I must have been drunk. But yeah, no, I mean, I would have put it as RPG, but Steimer's totally right, obviously, because it got nominated by the most people in strategy. But when I think about Fire Emblem, I think of RPG. But, you know.
for me, I think, there's definitely RPG elements to it. I just think
But the combat is...
the main focus
yeah.
is combat, and it's strategy combat.
Yeah, you're totally right. Good job, Final Fantasy 14, I guess.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, hey. But anywho, who's going to win this one, ladies?
I think this is probably the Outer Worlds.
Good. Don't say
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts.
I mean,
I hope Kingdom Hearts wins nothing.
I doubt it will.
I don't have any hate for Kingdom Hearts.
No, I don't. It's just like compared to everything else, I just don't think. I mean, that game took so long to make, and I don't know. It's just.
I think the Outer Worlds has
I
this.
was literally playing it, and I was like, "Is this? This feels like just from what I've seen of the other games, the exact same shit." So I don't know.
Best fighting game: Dead or Alive 6, Jump Force, Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Shodown, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I'm so sad that Smash is going head to head with MK11 because we were playing MK11 on Stadia yesterday, and just reminded me like how good that game is.
Do you think it's not gonna win?
No, against Smash, never.
I don't know. It's got the Mortal Kombat, so you can rip people's spines out. Maybe
I know it's. I mean, they
true.
like
it can win GOTY if it wants to. Just leave the fighting game alone.
I think if Smash doesn't win fighting game, but it wins Game of the Year, something's wrong.
That would be-
Oh God! Could you
Something's
imagine?
wrong.
That would be funny. Although that's happened before.
Of course it has, because what will happen is like some of the votes get split between games, and then like you get these weird upsets. But no, I think this is Smash is a shoe-in for sure.
I would
Smush.
say I would eat my shorts, like I said that one time. Sammer, you weren't on that episode, were you?
I was not
No.
on that episode.
But while I'm that okay, I will say it. I will.
Someone
eat,
said once
I
that they
will
would eat a cup
edible
and then
panties
they couldn't.
on the
Oh
Super
shit!
Smash Bros.
Okay.
Ultimate
Okay,
wins.
that's better because
If
it's
they
something
win?
you could actually win or
Oh,
actually
if they
do.
lose, no, but see, maybe I want to eat them.
I mean, I don't know how good they taste. I don't think it's like a fruit roll up. I don't think it's quite that good.
I've actually never had edible underwear. Maybe we should do this for science.
I think
I think we should.
We should just go to the store and grab a pair.
Be
or
like,
two or
where's the
three
nearest
and
sex
eat them
shop?
on
We need
camera.
some edible
There's
underwear.
just one down the street, actually.
I love that you know this.
It's because it's by the car wash, and I drive by the car
I
wash.
need to go
all
to the car wash.
time.
My
Remember,
car
we
is
were also going to
disgusting.
watch Fortnite porn for science, and we never did.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah, we
gosh.
never did.
It's a date, ladies. We
Okay.
can eat edible undies and watch Fortnite porn. It's gonna be great.
Amazing.
Okay, so if they lose, I'll eat a pair of edible underwear. I'll probably just eat them regardless.
Okay.
But all right, best family game: Luigi's Mansion 3, Ring Fit Adventure, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Yoshi's Crafted World. Ladies,
This
there's
is
a
all
chance
Nintendo?
Nintendo could lose this category.
I mean,
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's hilarious that Ring Fit Adventures, because to me, I'm like, it's a quote unquote game. You're exercising, like that's what it is. You're
I
just,
don't want to exercise with my family.
no, hell no. But
I don't want my
I
mom to
don't
get all
know.
sweaty.
I think Super Mario or Yoshi will win because, well, or maybe actually Smash because everyone loves Smash. But I think family game.
I think of a
and I
family-
feel like Smash is not a game you would play with your family
I
because you
think
get
of
really
a-
mad.
Yes, I'm with you. Like a Luigi.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 wins this category, hands down.
And Yoshi's Crafted World, I think it looks more charming, but Luigi's Mansion 3 is just a great
Yeah.
game, and it's co-op. So like, I mean, so is Yoshi's Crafted World.
Luigi.
Mm-hmm.
I love Gooigi.
Do you want to eat him?
Kind of. Gummies?
Is it gonna taste like edible undies? I don't know.
We don't know what the edible undies taste like, so we TBD.
For science. Okay, best strategy game: Age of Wonders, Planets Fall, Anno 1800, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Total War Three Kingdoms, Tropico 6, and Wargroove.
I mean, I want Fire Emblem to take it because Fire Emblem is so good, but it might be a Total War or a Tropico.
Tropico. Yeah, I think Total War like usually wins this category every year that they're nominated. Creative Assembly has just been crushing it with Total War year after year.
That's what my dad likes to play. He's a Total War kind of guy.
Yeah. It's a very, very popular strategy game. I mean, this category has got like a really nice, diverse mix, but I think Fire Emblem is not gonna win.
Makes me sad.
Rip.
Yeah.
I want it to win something. It's such a good game.
Such
Yeah.
a great game. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if people who play these other strategy games are people who would also play Fire Emblem. I'm not.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why
Yeah.
I feel like it would lose, right?
Yeah.
It's not a traditional
hardcore
strategy.
Yeah.
We can probably just skip the sports and racing category
You wanna
because
go over
FIFA's
it?
Yeah,
going
we
to win
can
it
skip
again.
I think
Multiplayer, I think, is an interesting mix this year because we've got Apex Legends, Borderlands 3, Call of Duty, Tetris 99, and then The Division 2. I think all of these are freaking awesome multiplayer games, and it's going to be really hard to vote in this category.
They're
yeah,
all so
especially because
different.
Tetris is just like a random ass curveball there.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait, how do I compare these games? They're very different.
I think Tetris 99 doesn't really, I mean, I love that it's nominated, but it doesn't feel the same multiplayer. It doesn't feel as multiplayer-y as the other games do because essentially Tetris 99 is a solo game.
Right.
not like
It's
you
just
go in with
you're
squads.
pitting against people. So it's,
Yeah.
you can't exactly party the same way you can in all
Why
the
isn't
others.
Fortnite on this?
Probably because there's just too many other games that got nominated this year.
I guess.
It's been nominated a lot
Yeah, but
Yeah.
in this
it's kind
category.
of surprising, I guess.
It's Apex Legends year, I guess.
Apparently.
And Borderlands 3 multiplayer is fantastic. I really enjoyed my time in the Division 2. So, and of course, Modern
Fortnite's had
Warfare.
its day in the sun before. It's nominated again on a couple of these things. I think it's fine.
Oh, it's totally fine. I'm not offended by any means. I'm just kind of surprised that, it's not here. Right. Got fresh indie game presented by Subway.
Oh my god.
I'm just happy it's
What?
I love this.
Wait, what? How did I
Literally.
miss this?
Fresh indie game presented by Subway.
Do you think they're just going to be Subway at the Game Awards?
God, I hope so. I love
that
Subway.
would be great. Help soak up the alcohol.
Yeah, I'd be like, we need a sandwich.
I need some
Alright.
cold cuts
Give
up
me
in
a foot long.
here.
Let's go.
Zaum by oh
That's the studio.
Oh, I was like, what kind of game is that? Okay, I'm just gonna no.
Just read this. Just read the games.
No, girl, I'm reading the studios. I'm like, I haven't heard fucking any of these games. Where have
They're
I
very
been?
small teams.
Because they're the teams. Okay, Disco Elysium, Gris, my friend Pedro, Outer
Pedro.
Pedro, sorry, Outer Wilds, Slay the Spire, Untitled Goose Game.
So the Outer Wilds makes it in the indie category only.
I hope that they win a Subway foot long.
Is it gonna be a Subway trophy?
What if they
All
just
nominees get a foot
all
long.
nominees? No, I feel like if they win, it's like your studio gets a lifetime supply of Subway sandwiches.
Dude.
that would be good for a little indie studio?
Yeah, but there's not that many of them. It's
Save a lot of money on lunch, yeah.
Mhm.
This is an interesting category. To me, I think that this is like a shoo-in for Outer Wilds. Untitled Goose Game, I'm glad that it's here and it was really fun. I don't think Untitled Goose Game really like moved the needle when it comes to innovation though. When we're looking at Gris as well, like I think that game was phenomenal. I didn't spend enough time with my friend Pedro or Slay the Spire, and I definitely want to, spend more time with Disco Elysium as well. But
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Content Creator of the Year: Courage, Dr. Lupo, Ewok, Griffage, Shroud.
Cool.
yeah, this is an interesting category. The way that Jeff has changed this category over the years, the description is recognizing a streamer, influencer, or media member who has made an important and positive impact on the industry in 2018. So I think, I've had personal interactions and worked with Dr. Lupo, so I'm really happy to see that he's nominated. He has done a standout job in 2019 of doing a lot of really fantastic content creation specifically around charitable efforts, which I think is awesome. I'm not like super familiar with a lot of the people. Obviously, everybody knows Shroud. I think like
Shroud and Courage, yeah.
Yeah. And so I like that Ewok is up here from a representation standpoint, of course, but I think that I don't think of her as a content creator. She's an esports player, and there is an esports category. So I don't know how I feel about, like esports players like making it into the content creator, because I know that a lot of them stream on their own time, but usually those streams are just for their practice or for them to talk to their community. They're not like actively, making content day in, day out. They're playing, they're practicing, they're, competing.
Competition.
I don't know Ewok, so I have no thoughts there.
No, I'm with you.
But in terms of esports players and the content and all that kind of stuff, I think some of them are better at it than others. I think some esports players definitely see that there'll be an end to their career at some point, and so it's more career building for them, and they do want to move over into that content stream once they can't play professionally anymore.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know this player, but that might be more of the category that they're under.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, so Ewok kind of made headlines earlier this year because she's 13 and she was born deaf and she is playing Fortnite professionally. So I think that's clearly what kind of got attention from the other members of the jury this year, is that, she was kind of like this really amazing beacon, not only just for female esports players. Wait.
She's my bitch. Look at this.
She's a fan of Starburst, Twix, sour green
Twix,
Skittles.
and sour green Skittles. I like you. You're my new favorite for this category.
Go Ewok, you win.
But she also represents, gamers with disabilities playing professionally as well. So I think that is awesome and really cool.
Yeah.
Dope.
Cool. Man, everything else is just esports from here on out.
Esportes.
Yeah. So we can just skip those because we didn't vote or nominate in those categories because we are not an esports outlet. Jeff has a specific jury of esports outlets and esports influencers who vote and nominate in the esports categories. So if you guys want to look at all of the nominees across all of the categories, of course, thegameawards.com. It's also a good place to learn about how the voting and nomination process takes place and who the other members of the juries are. So a couple things before we move on.
Yeah.
I was very vocal on Twitter this week about my disappointment in how Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order did not get nominated for anything, and neither did Pokemon Sword and Shield, because of when the judges were given access to the builds of those games ahead of when the nominations were due. And so clearly both of those games would have made nominations if the deadline for the nominations had been pushed back, or if we were able to get code earlier. So I'm pretty disappointed. I think that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a phenomenal game and that Respawn did a really great job. Obviously, it's got, a couple of issues like all of these games do, but I think they really deserve some recognition this year, and I'm disappointed with how it kind of shook out.
Yeah, and Jeff said judges can nominate those games for next year, but like we were talking about with Cyberpunk and TLU 2.
Yeah, it's not going to have a
It's
chance.
just Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah.
There's no way.
No, so it was kind of weird, and I think it's a good discussion that we're having because maybe the way that these awards are run needs to be tweaked just a little bit to accommodate when games happen just to release on the cutoff date.
I think that it's certainly frustrating that there's the way that it lines up. And so there's a lot of people on Twitter kind of asking like, how is this possible? Why doesn't he just move the awards to January, et cetera, et cetera? And just as like a clarification, the reason why the awards are in December is because he is trying to galvanize the gaming community around the fervor that is the holiday season for video games, getting people excited and interested about games that came out this year so that maybe they'll go buy them and support the developers who make these games.
Christmas time is big business.
Exactly. And so that's a big factor, and that's a big part of it, of course. And as we saw, games that come out in December, have a shot at being nominated the year after. It's just that November is kind of this limbo area, and it changes every year depending on when the Game Awards date, is announced and when the release dates are for major tentpole games. And there are other award shows that take all of the months of the calendar year into consideration. Obviously, there's the DICE Awards from the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, which is developer nominated and voted, which happens in February every year. The Game Developers Choice Awards, which happens in March, also is developer nominated and voted. And so those take it into effect. But by the time you get to, like the GDC Awards, I feel like a lot of the games that they're talking about now have been kind of like left in the dust because we're now getting so many releases in Q1.
Yep.
It's true.
So
I remember back in my day when nothing released at the beginning of the year and everything released at the end of the year, and it was really obnoxious because that's when I worked actually reviewing games and we all wanted to die. But yeah. Then and now they release any time of year.
Do you still want to die though from it?
Yes.
Oh. Fair enough.
It made nothing better.
So I guess we hope that these will get nominated next year, but let's be honest, nobody's beating Cyberpunk and TLU.
Well, I mean, it'll probably get nominated, and that'll be good. And we say you had your moment. I don't think I would have voted for Jedi Fallen Order anyway for Game of the Year. I think it absolutely deserves to be nominated, but so maybe it'll live its best life. It'll live its full potential. Discussion maybe another time.
All right, shall we move on?
Yee. Who's starting? I'll start.
You start.
Half-Life Alyx takes place between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. Whoa, update. Okay, this came from Kotaku. So, obviously, Half-Life Alyx was announced.
You guys all got a
today.
Half-Life game.
Wow.
Hooray.
So Half-Life Alyx, you might be dismayed to learn, is definitely not Half-Life 3, but it is a new full-length Half-Life game, Valve said today, and it'll be out in March.
Full length? Those games were long.
Yeah, they were very long.
So, like, that in VR?
Yeah, girl.
Fucking kill me.
In a press release, Valve said the game, first announced earlier this week to surprise confusion and memes from fans, has been, quote, designed from the ground up for virtual reality, but is still very much a Half-Life game in that it features world exploration, puzzle solving, visceral combat, and an intricately woven story that connects it all with the characters iconic to the Half-Life universe. It is set between the events of Half-Life 1 and 2 and stars Alyx, as the title suggests. Alyx Vance and her father Eli secretly mount the resistance. Fair enough. To the brutal occupation of Earth by a mysterious alien race known as the Combine, reads the game's description. As Alyx, players take the fight to the Combine to save the future of humanity. Oh no, aliens. Despite being a killer, I missed a word. Wait.
Ostensibly.
Ostensibly. My brain was just like, you don't know how to say it. So
Your brain was
skip
just
it.
like, skip the
And I was
word.
like, no, that's not how this works.
You
Being
could
a
have.
ki-
It would have been fine.
Ostensibly, being a killer app for Valve's own VR headset, the Valve Index. Oh, I forgot about that thing. Half-Life Alyx will be compatible with, quote, all PC-based VR headsets when it releases in March 2020. Screenshots thus far depict Alyx having hands, which is sorry.
That's good.
That's just kind of a
We do love hands.
thing. Okay, having hands, which is something that was technically already canon, but now her hands are your hands, and you get to use items like the enticingly named gravity gloves if they are not somehow involved in a game of fetch with a dog. I'll eat a Vortigaunt. What the fuck? Nerds. All right, update 1:15 Pacific Eastern. In an interview with IGN, Valve designer and programmer Robin Walker said that some former members of Firewatch studio Campo Santo, hired by Valve last year, ostensibly,
They like using that word at
God,
Kotaku.
no kidding, keep me on my toes, to continue working on their next game in the Valley of Gods, are working on Half-Life Alyx.
That's an editing error, I think. You wouldn't use that word more than once in any story.
Okay, do you need to read all of this?
Ostensibly, you might.
Oh, good job, Steimer.
Ostensibly. Okay, that's irrelevant. Okay, Walker also said that Alyx is roughly the same length as Half-Life 2, which puts it around 13 to 15 hours long. So there you go, Steimer.
I remember
Strap
being
in.
way longer
I
than
feel
that.
like it was longer, but
Maybe I was just bad at the puzzles.
yeah, maybe.
Meanwhile, the Game Awards host and Death Stranding main character, Jeff Keighley, released a video interview with members of the Half-Life Alyx team in which they discussed the game's origins as an exploration of VR mechanics rather than setting out to create a new Half-Life, specifically, and why it's not Half-Life 3. Quote, back in 2016 when we started this, Half-Life was just terrifying. So Half-Life 3 was a terrifying, daunting prospect. And I think to some extent, VR was a way we could fool ourselves into believing we had a way to do this. The game The Gravity Gun helped us the way the gravity gun helped us in Half-Life 2, it became the temple you could wrap so much around. So VR became this thing we could wrap everything around. Whereas Half-Life 3, if it's like tomorrow you're working on Half-Life 3, then it's like, oh God.
So basically, Half-Life 3 is never coming because they're too scared.
I think that's kind of
cowards.
That's all I'm getting out of this.
They're cowards.
There's no way we could possibly make Half-Life 3 at this point. We don't know what we're doing.
I think
let's make a VR game because we can.
It gives us a comfort blanket and we can deal. Okay, during the interview, Valve also confirmed that Valve veterans like Portal 2 writers Eric Wolpaw and Jay Pinkerton, both of whom departed Valve back in 2017, have been working on Half-Life Alyx as well. Quote, it was really easy to recruit for this project, surprisingly enough, said Valve level designer Dario Casali with a chuckle. Wow.
I am so perplexed by this move by Valve. Also, like, this individual developer, Rob Walker, is allowed to be scared of Half-Life. Valve, as a studio, is not allowed to be scared of their own goddamn property. Like, the reason why nothing has happened is because Valve hasn't made the game. I feel like the community that was excited for it has fizzled. You know, there's so many other things that are happening. And the choice to bring back one of their most iconic franchises and lock it to VR is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way that Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3, whatever the ones are that people are waiting on, if they came out now, it's been far too long. Like, the expectation, who knows? I think everyone's kind of all over the board, right? I think if you want to bring it back, you don't have to do VR. You can tell a whole different story. And maybe that's what they're doing here. I don't quite follow the lore. That's within the universe, but not really related to Gordon Freeman or whoever the hell is in those games. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. I think that doing something in VR around the Half-Life is good. I just don't think making it only in VR is good. I think we've seen plenty of examples of studios that make a VR version and then make a regular 2D version or 3D version. That's not virtual reality, and we've seen it be done successfully. I think Resident Evil 7 is a really great, like kind of poster child for that, right? And I just would think that Valve would look at their audience and the people who want this and could not only just sell more units, but would probably appease their fans a lot more. That said, what we saw in the teaser looks good. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to look that good inside Index. I think that technology in VR is changing and getting better every month that goes by, and that developers are learning better how to work with that platform and work with the hardware. But I guess only time will tell if it's going to look as good as it does.
Wait, so this headset, Index, is $1,000?
Yeah.
Or $750. There's a bundle for $1,000 and then a bundle for like $750 or something. And
so
ridiculous.
Right, like if you've already got the room scale pieces of the Vive, the HTC Vive, you don't need the entire bundle. You just need the new headset because you can keep like the room sensors.
If you're like, I'm Half-Life fan number 1, I have nothing right now.
$1,000 plus
$1,000 plus the cost of the game.
PC.
Plus the PC
and the game.
Oh my god!
The game
it's not
comes
standalone. It has to run on the PC.
If you have the Index, the game is free.
Wow.
Okay. There's $60 off that package right
Woof.
there.
I mean, that makes a mega difference when we're talking about at that point at least $1,600.
There you go. Yeah, it's interesting. And I was reading an interview, and it sounds like you were talking about earlier how Resident Evil 7 has VR, non-VR, and it sounds like the plan is definitely not to bring this to non-VR. Because they're like, it's kind of made from the ground up for this. And remember, Steimer, when you were talking about, what's the owl game?
Oh, the Falcon Age.
Yeah, you said it felt kind of weird when you're not playing it in
Yes,
VR,
it did feel weird when I was like, this is clearly designed for VR. So to play it not in VR, it's just bizarre because you're like, I should be able to do this thing. I can't do this thing. And I think if you were playing it with the headset, you would understand why you couldn't do the thing. But
yeah, so it sounds like Valve's trying to avoid that. But
I mean, that makes sense. But also, I don't know, as we were watching the trailer, and apparently you guys said this is a normal thing, I really hated the hands. I hated them so much.
The disconnected
hands, because I'm like, just why? They're weird ghost hands.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Even though it is very common in VR games to just have hands and not have arms, I don't like it either.
Yeah, it's odd. I don't know how hard it would be to animate the arms. I'm sure there's some reason that arms...
I'm sure there's technical reasons for it, but it's very off-putting.
It's like,
The team behind Falcon Age is a small independent team. I understand why they didn't have the resources to create 2 different locomotion sets, one for VR and one for non-VR. You know who doesn't have a money problem?
Valve.
Valve! Valve has a ton of money. They could easily have made a team that was specifically for the
Porting
index,
this over and
right?
giving them arms.
Steimer just wants arms.
I
Steimer,
just want arms.
If there are arms in VR, will you play VR?
No, but
Maybe
for a short period of time. But again, it's this. I don't want anything on my face that long. For like 15 hours, hell no. And I don't think it's 15 hours. I'm sure it's probably longer
Oh
than
my
that.
goodness.
But I mean, it looks like a good VR game. It looks like there's some humor to it. I don't follow Half-Life, so my panties aren't in a tight twisted bundle over it. I'll check it out. I have the Oculus Quest, and you can now turn it into the S with the link or whatever. It's the link cable. You
Sure.
can play it on that. Cool. I'll check it out.
I'm curious to see how the Half-Life community responds to it once it's out and whether or not they like it. Because this is the only Half-Life they're probably, given that quote, granted, it's one person at the studio, so they're not speaking for everybody. It sounds like this is all they're going to get for quite some time. So, or this is maybe like a test for them to be like, well, we need to test the waters because it's been so long that we have no idea whether or not anyone is still interested in this franchise. I think the bad part is that you won't really get a good read whether or not anyone's still interested because it is only made in VR and it is only like this really expensive headset and all this stuff that you need to have. But if you took some resources, like Andrea said, and ported it to regular ass video game mode, I think they would have a better understanding of whether or not they should go forth and try making Half-Life 3. Just fucking try.
Like, even if they made it a Steam exclusive, I would be, upset that I can't play it on console, but I would at least think that that's a better call to put it as a Steam exclusive and have an index version than to just make it an index exclusive game.
Yeah. Because, I absolutely will not be playing this. And if it had been on Steam, I would.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would finish it because I tend to get bored very quickly in first-person shooters, but I would definitely play.
Yeah. It's just kind of an odd choice.
Well,
from many different angles.
Half-Life is coming, everybody.
Just not in the way you thought.
Isn't that how it always works?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Life's a bitch.
All right, so now we've got a Pokemon story.
Yeah!
Steimer, would you like to do the honors?
Sure. Pokemon Sword and Shield catches 6 million in global sales. This is from Destructoid. Following on the news? That's not a good sentence.
That's weird.
Why did you write that? The Pokemon Sword and Shield shifted 1.3 million physical copies in Japan. The Pokemon Company has proudly announced that these latest entries in the legendary Collect 'em Up franchise have succeeded in selling 6 million global units after their release week. A little over 2 million of these sales came from North America during the first 2 days of launch.
Dang.
This number represents the highest ever week 1 sales on the Nintendo Switch platform, making Pokemon Sword and Shield the fastest selling Switch title to date. Woo! It's worth noting that Sword and Shield are 2 separately listed games, and as such, dedicated fans may choose to purchase both, which will understandably help boost these figures a little. I don't know that I agree with that, or I guess some people do buy 2, but good God. Moneybags McGee. The success of both titles also led to a global surge in Switch hardware sales, with Japan selling over 180,000 Switch units during Pokemon Sword and Shield's release week. Since the start of November, the UK has seen further 90,000 consoles, confirming Pokemon's staying power as a, quote, killer app, capable of shifting hardware sales as well as software.
No shit.
Surprising no one.
I know. So I was looking at some numbers. So Sun and Moon for 3DS, which released in 2016, sold 16.17 million copies to date. Interesting, worth noting that at that point, because I also pulled some numbers, the 3DS install base was around 58 million, and right now the Switch is around 41. And so it's outpacing that. And then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee has reached 11.28 million copies in total. Which obviously I think Sword and Shield is going to
Crush?
decimate.
Yeah.
That sword, that shield.
I think after the holiday season is really where they're going to have their bump. There was no surprise that this is doing well. I think we all knew that when Nintendo announced this game, announced its release window, and announced Nintendo Switch Lite, it was definitely going to be a hardware pusher. Pokemon always has been for Nintendo. So
Again, surprising no one, but very cool and exciting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Glad
Good
it's
job,
doing well.
Pokemons. We'll be talking more about Pokemon Sword and Shield in the next segment.
Yes, we will.
All right. And lastly, Miss Amy Hennig has launched an interactive studio in a movie production company. So PC Gamer writes that a former Uncharted creative director, Amy Hennig, has joined a film production company, Skydance Media, to run a new interactive division, which Skydance boasts will shape the future of interactive media. Skydance, if you guys don't know, is kind of a big player in the feature film business. You may have heard of things like Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Terminator Dark Fate, and the new Top Gun. It has, however, also created a pair of VR games, including the Walking Dead spin-off set in New Orleans that's coming in 2020. According to Skydance, the new division will use streaming platforms to get gamers and non-gamers to play story-focused interactive series. On Twitter, Hennig said that the creative team will be exploring new frontiers in interactive storytelling, though no games have been announced yet. Hennig is joined by former EA producer Julian Beek, who serves as vice president, continuing a partnership that started with the unfortunately canceled Star Wars game. RIP, codenamed Ragtag.
Press F.
I've been in the game industry for 30 years now, Hennig said in the announcement. I've seen so many different evolution and revolutions of creative content, and fundamentally, I came to it as a storyteller. I was potentially a filmmaker. When I was going to school, I wanted to be a writer, and so I found my creative home in games. Hennig believes that gaming is currently missing short-form interactive narratives while developers are pressured to make giant open-world live service games. The former is what Hennig specializes in, though, and what the new studio will be working on. Games Radar added that Hennig and Beek plan on developing new story-focused experiences crafted as interactive series that will employ state-of-the-art computer graphics to provide visual fidelity of television and film, but with an active, lean-in experience that puts audience in the driver's seat.
Sounds cool. Can't wait. Sign me up.
Yeah. I'm down. Let's do it.
Anything she touches, I will touch too. Wow, that sounds really bad. I'm gonna hold up the pillow now.
No, she shouldn't say that though. I think this is good. I think that I'm holding, my excitement in check just a little bit because
All of her projects keep getting canceled?
yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think Skydance is going to cancel her because I have heard rumblings that they've been looking to invest in the interactive space for quite some time, and they've been making some moves. So I'm excited to see that they're making a move with her, but I'll believe it when I see it.
That's fair. I mean, this is going to take a while to get done anyway, so.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people doing this type of stuff, but they're just not doing it on the scale that I think Skydance is capable of. Obviously, one of our favorite games that is a narrative interactive experience, Life is Strange, I think has always done it really well. Both Deck Nine and Don't Nada Studios, I think, really did a great job with that. Telltale previously also really succeeded in the narrative interactive storytelling. And then the game that we're playing later today, Supermassive, with, the Dark Pictures anthology with Man of Medan, and previously, Until Dawn. I think that is a perfect example of a really cinematic interactive gaming experience.
Until Dawn fucking kick ass.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite one of the quote interactive story experiences.
Yeah.
Even though it's horror.
Yeah.
And I hate horror.
Coming around slowly but surely.
Nah.
It makes you wonder, do you think the goal is to put a controller in people's hands or to do something kind of like Playlink?
Like Bandersnatch?
I think Bandersnatch is definitely influencing this genre and influencing TV and film companies to look at it. I also want to remind people about Imagineering, Andy Serkis' studio, that put out the Planet of the Apes Frontier game.
Yeah.
That was really overlooked, but that's exactly what his studio was trying to do as well, is to take these feature film-like experiences and make them interactive. And what Imagineering's focus was to make it really approachable for people who don't normally play video games, and that's why they used Playlink, is to say, hey, we want people to just have to tap a couple buttons on their phone and not hold a controller, because controllers can be very intimidating for people who don't play games.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that there's amazing potential here for Amy to do something super cool with Skydance.
Also, the Walking
The
Dead game looks
potential
really
is
good.
all there.
It's a VR game, so Steimer has no interest whatsoever.
Correct.
But it's got zombies, so it's
Saints and
all
sinners.
about Brittany.
Oh, it's all about me. Everything's always about me.
And on that note, we're going to take our first break of the show. I was going for an awkward pause. Did I get it right?
that's a hard cut. Oh, good.
I was like, I'll just be making this weird face. I'll just hold it. Fine. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the What's Good Games podcast. It's segment 2, and this is where we talk about what we've been playing and our hands-on impressions from many games that we've gotten pre-release. And this time, our friend Maverick is joining us.
He's a Pokemon of his own.
He's not going to say much.
He'd be a pretty decent Pokemon.
He would use Leer.
Oh,
Which
he
is
would
an attack.
100% use Leer, yeah.
Lower your attack, I think.
Is that like a staring attack?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a debuff.
He's pretty good at that. But before we talk about Pokemon or any other game that we've played, I've got to tell you that it's brought to you by GameStop. So we talked to you guys about Pro Day not that long ago, and now we're here to remind you that Black Friday is almost upon us. Like you didn't know, the Black Friday ads are literally everywhere right now. And GameStop has revealed that they've got some of the best deals in gaming on the hottest video games, consoles, accessories, and collectibles. And it all kicks off November 28th and runs through December 1st. So they, of course, are kicking off their Black Friday sales in store beginning at 3 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day and going live with holiday deals on GameStop.com at 6 p.m. Pacific time on November 27th. So if you really want to get a jump on things, you can, put your
Johnny
onesies on and shop online. Black Friday offers, of course, as we mentioned, are valid through December 1st, unless otherwise stated. And just as a reminder, there are over 3,000 locations nationwide, GameStops, holding it down. 3,700 to be exact.
Wow.
And more than 30,000 store associates ready and willing to help answer your questions. Just as a friendly reminder, be nice to associates when you see them. They're people too. And guess what? They know a lot about video games.
They do. Just be nice to people in general, you know?
You know what? That's a good life lesson, Britt. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
GameStop is also offering convenience and value to make this Black Friday the best shopping experience this holiday season. Customers can expect to see a unique discount across a mix of video game consoles, including bundle packages that include triple play and software, both Sony, PS4, and Xbox One, plus gift coupons on Nintendo Switch and Switch Lite. Additionally, GameStop will also offer deep discounts on popular collectibles, such as board games, toy figures, holiday apparel, ornaments, and more. Not unlike the really adorable mini shirt that I'm wearing right now. Is this a
pretty
GameStop
cute.
too?
Yeah, this is my Tiny Tina.
Nice.
I didn't even notice that it was Tiny Tina.
Yeah, look at my boobs.
Maybe I just didn't want to stare.
Your boom boobs.
Dang, that hurts my feelings. Don't want to stare at me. But
Oh.
I have been told that I remind people of Tiny Tina, probably because we're both crazy.
That might have something to do with
That
it.
might have something to do with it. I'll never forget when she first came out. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And it's me. And now I have her on my breasticles and my abdomen, thanks to the lovely selection at GameStop.
Yeah. Purple shirts are the best. So they have a crap ton of deals going on, you guys. So I'm going to run down just a couple of the ones that I think are really awesome, just some standout things that they're doing. So if you've been waiting to get a PS4, they've got a 1 terabyte bundle with God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us for $199.99.
Wow,
That is a deal.
That is crazy.
that's a good deal.
Especially now that they've dropped the price of PlayStation Now to $9.99 a month. That's awesome. Or if you want to get that 4K life happening, the PS4 Pro 1 terabyte Glacial White system, which is available only at GameStop while supplies last, is $299.99, and you'll get a $25 gift coupon. So really, if you think about it, if you spend that gift coupon on yourself,
Which you should.
it's like
Always.
$275. That's
Yeah.
really good. That's a really good deal. Of course, Xbox has their own bundles as well. You can get an Xbox One S 1 terabyte bundle with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for $199.99. You can get the Xbox One X limited edition 1 terabyte bundle with NBA 2K20, which is also available only at GameStop for $349.99. $349.99 for an Xbox One X is a pretty good price, you guys. I don't know if they've discounted it that cheap before. $349? That's like
How do
$150
you don't mind?
off. My goodness. Of course, Nintendo Switch, not to be left out, they've got a bundle where you'll receive a free copy of Mario Kart 8 while supplies last, plus a $25 coupon on Thursday and Friday. That deal is happening. And then the Nintendo Switch Lite, if you've been eyeing it and you want to get one, you can get a $25 gift coupon with your purchase. They've got a bunch of games on sale: Red Dead Redemption, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Gears 5, Spider-Man, plus accessories like DualShock wireless controllers, the Pokeball Plus controllers, and a whole bunch of headsets and things like that. And of course, as we mentioned, collectibles, which has been such a huge part of GameStop's expansion into the gaming culture sphere. Up to 40% off holiday apparel, calendars, and ornaments. Plus, you can get 30% off on all board games, puzzles, and Funkover strategy games, plus a whole bunch of other deals. If you guys want to look at everything that GameStop is doing for Black Friday, you got to go to GameStop.com/Black Friday. Again, GameStop.com/Black Friday is where you'll get to check out all of their deals, make all of the little notations about what you want to get.
Little notations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Make yourself a list.
Make yourself a list.
Listen,
Check it twice.
if you don't, you're going to forget, and then you're going to miss out on a deal, and then you're going to be sad.
That's
no
true.
one likes sad.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
All right. Moving on. Let's talk about what we've been playing. So, obviously, we mentioned Pokemon. So, let's just go ahead and start with Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Okay.
Okay,
Did
do
you have Sword or Shield?
I have sword.
I have Shield.
We can trade. It'll be great.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
just
I wanted the rainbow Ponyta. Wait, it's not Ponyta. Is it Ponyta?
Yeah,
it is
Ponyta.
Ponyta.
Yeah,
This is also why I got Shield.
And
I just haven't started yet.
I was like, you have it too? Yeah, so I just started playing this morning, and I was almost late here because I lost track of time. And like, I woke up pretty early. Woke up at 6.
Yeah, I
was
saw
like,
you tweeting it like super early.
yeah, I went to bed at 9, so.
Good for you.
I mean,
Sleep is important.
But then, so yeah, I got up at 6, and I was like, okay, I have plenty of time. I'm gonna get Pokemon because I downloaded it the night before. I just started playing, and I like, then all of a sudden it was like 9:30, and I was like, oh shit, I have to like get ready and go places. But I am really digging it. I know, obviously, it's the same formula in a lot of ways, but to me, I haven't really dived back into a Pokemon game. It's been a few years. I've skipped a few iterations of Pokemon, so I think for me it's about that right time where I'm like ready for another. And I do love the world that they've built, and like being able to walk around in it and look at everything. It's so much prettier than like the old shit like top down view from before. So because I just got to like the first city, and I was wandering around, and I was like, oh my god, this is cool.
did you play any of the 3DS ones? Sun and Moon.
I played some Sun and Moon. I
Okay.
played some X and Y.
I definitely didn't play X and Y. I don't remember if I did Sun or Moon. If I did, I didn't play them very long.
Okay.
So this is the first one that I'm excited to play and like sit down and bunker down. And I think what I'm most excited about is like, as I'm walking around the tall grass and I'm seeing all these new Pokemon, and so the tall grass is different. Back in the day,
Wait, sorry, did you play Let's Go? Eevee or Pikachu?
No.
I can't remember. No.
I haven't
Okay.
played Let's
Did
Go.
you-
So
yeah,
is
we played together. Yeah, we
is it
did.
the same in Let's Go?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever.
So it's new for you though.
It's new for me.
No, that's an important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you didn't play Let's Go and you're like, I haven't played Pokemon since Red and Blue, it's different. Slightly.
Hey, been a lot of Pokemon.
Game Boy.
There's been a lot. You know what?
Technology.
The Red and Blue is what I grew up on because I'm old. But anyways, in tall grass before, it would just be, random encounters. There are still random encounters, but you can see the Pokemon and you can avoid them. I've run past so many. I'm like, ha, sucker, you're so slow. And they'll like chase me out of the grass. I'm like, you can't catch me.
Oh, and then you come across a Machamp and he hunts your ass down and runs into you.
Oh,
And
really?
he's like a level 50 and you're like a 25.
And you're like,
I'm sorry, Daddy.
Rip.
Yeah.
But no, so I'm super excited about it. I get excited seeing all the different types of Pokemon in there because I'm like, oh, is that a new one? And like, what is it? And I want to go chase after it and get it. And I'm excited about like learning about all their new evolutions, and I'm kind of going back and forth on whether or not I want to look up every Pokemon but as I catch it, and like what its evolutions are, if I want to keep it in my party, if I don't want to keep it in my party.
Do you have the Pokédex app?
Like
Isn't there an app for the Pokédex?
on your phone?
If there is, I'm not using it. I haven't heard of it. There's
Yeah.
something called
I'm like-
Pokemon
I was-
Home where you can upload your Pokemon to. Because the way I'm playing is I just kind of went in blind in the sense that I'm just trying to catch them all. I want to fill up my Pokedex, so I'm not looking at anything that could give that away.
I looked up the starter evolutions because I wanted to see because although I didn't realize this, so a lot of times, or at least in the past few iterations of Pokemon, the starters will evolve with a second type.
Mm-hmm.
And so they look weird sometimes. And I was scared that one of them would like just go some weird gnarly combo that I didn't want.
Yep.
So it's like, I need to look these are the ones I'm going to look up. I'm going to look up the starters.
So there are a bunch of unofficial
Oh, so
Pokemon
yeah.
Pokedex apps, you mean?
Pokedex apps.
Yeah, I mean, if I have a question, I just Google it.
Yeah.
There was at some point an official iOS app a long time ago, it looks like.
Then it's
but-
gone.
Yeah, who knows if it was updated.
Press F.
So I'm with you, Steimer, in the sense that I'm as a fan, I'm loving it. I think I've put like 35 hours into it. I'm trying to complete the Pokedex. I have 6 out of my 8 gym badges. I think I've caught maybe 170 Pokemon at this point.
Wow. Are you level grinding them so they evolve and you get those in the Pokedex?
Kind of. I'm just catching everything I see. Even if I see like let's say there's a Machop and I know I have one. If I see a Machoke, I'll still catch that one.
No, I know. Yeah, totally. I'm just saying, so you're trying to catch the evolutions versus evolving them.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I always start out thinking, I'm just going to evolve everything in my... And then you have
But
like
no, there's
100
so many.
And then you just get overwhelmed, which is why the Poke Jobs are really helpful. Because you can just send your Pokemon on jobs and they get experience points that way.
Nice. You
Yeah.
go work Pokemon, earn your
Yeah.
keep.
So this is the... Yeah, what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, there's also like a bunch of like third party
Yeah.
apps on both Android and iOS for people making, Pokedex
Pokedex.
style
Pokedex.
Yeah.
apps.
So
But
yeah, as
anyway,
a fan,
continue.
I am just enjoying it so much. It's just so much fun. The formula doesn't really have to change that much for this game to be fun, right? If you
Yeah,
think
because
about
the formula is solid.
from Pokemon Red, Blue to where we are now, throughout all of the different games that have come out in the Pokemon series, granted there have been innovations and things have changed, but it hasn't been like this huge like transformation per se. So yeah, like I can't stop playing it. I can't put it down. Jason and I have our Switches in our workout room, and we have 2 treadmills side by side. So he has Shield too, and I have Sword, and so we've been doing max raid battles together while we're walking on the treadmill.
Nice.
Working like 6 miles on that thing at a time, and it's just like, yeah, better than sitting on your ass.
Very true.
Yeah. So but then there's like the critic side of me who's like, there are just some things where it's hard because I understand that Game Freak doesn't have to innovate that much. They don't have to because this game is already fun. The formula is already great. But then there's part of me is like, is it weird that this game still isn't voice acted? Is it weird that the NPCs have nothing really worthy to say? Do you know what I mean? So I have a list on my phone of things.
That's fair.
All right, bring up your list. While you're doing that, I think the reason why it's never been voice acted and probably won't be is because it makes it more internationally easy for distribution to not include voice acting or voiceover, because then you have to localize it.
Sure.
Yeah, because when you fire up the game, it immediately is like, which language do you want? And it's a lot easier to compress text files of subtitles on there than
but if
it is.
this is a game backed by Nintendo, like they have the resources to make it happen. It's just like,
Sure.
and granted, this game doesn't need voice acting. I wouldn't say it needs it. I polled my Twitter followers to ask, would you rather it be voice acted or not? And it was mostly split. There was like a little tiny percentage who said like, I don't want it voice acted, but it was mostly split between yes, we want it voice acted, or I don't care either way.
I think that they could explore cutscenes that are voice acted without, and then like, the traditional in-game stuff that they
Kinda
have
like
right
how Fire
now.
Emblem does it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a little bit more Fire Emblem where like, okay, yes, there is voice acting, but only in these really specific moments. I think the reason they don't is because Pokemon, doesn't really have a story. The story is like, you become the best. Like you are the story.
You are.
So it's harder. There's no reason for them to voice act it, because like, what are they voice acting? Someone telling you instructions on how to catch a Pokemon and throw a Pokeball? Like, it's not terribly exciting, and I don't think it's necessary for them to spend those resources doing that.
Maybe, but I think during those big gym scenes, where there's a crowd and the music's playing and the Rose, the chairman, he's speaking into the microphone. I can hear it in my head, like this big, like, and again, cut scenes, voice acted.
Yep.
Otherwise, they just grunt.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that would be nice if they had, in the stadiums
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
if they were like, there was an actual announcer, because that wouldn't be hard. You only have a few lines of dialogue there to localize.
Yeah. And so, again, like we were talking about last week, it's hard because as a fan, again, cool. But then as a critic, you're like, So, you go through the towns, and the towns are large, and they're very different, and they're very fun to walk through. Everyone's like has a theme, and it's cool. Like, But again, I feel in the towns, the NPCs don't say much. They don't say anything really worthwhile. So it was like, I love my Butterfree. It's like, cool. That's great. A lot of the rooms are recycled, even though there are a lot of houses you can go in. It's all kind of the same layout.
I also kind of granted, I haven't been in that many houses yet. You've been in more since you're
I go
like
to people's
30
houses
hours
all the
in,
time.
but I kind of wanted there to be more hidden stuff in there. Like, I've found a few off the path Pokeballs or whatever, or sparkly things in the grass, that I've picked up, but I'm like, I want more. Like, I want more of these.
Reward the exploration.
Give me the exploration cookie.
Because right now you just find little Pokeballs with items or TMs or something in it, or you'll get like berries or
oh my god,
fruits.
The
curry.
Is his name Hop? His name's Hop.
Yeah.
There was like, you're supposed to run back to the train stations at the very beginning of the game. And he's like, we're going to catch as many as we can. And I was like, whatever. And I just ran to the thing. And he was like, you caught no Pokemon? And I was like, correct.
Oh, wait, really?
Because
but
I had caught so many. I had caught every type already. Mm-hmm. But at the start of the quote unquote challenge, I was like, I don't need another freaking Yamper. And I don't need another Wooloo. And I don't need, like, I don't want to catch any more because I've already caught all of the ones that are in this grass. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't. But I thought it was funny how he was like, so he reacted. He was
That's
like,
funny because I caught
like,
everything.
He was like, you caught
complete.
nothing.
But yeah, going back to like, you know, the towns and stuff, it's hard because do the towns need to be fully fleshed out? Do they need to be like interesting and have all these hidden stories and side quests found throughout that? Because maybe not, because Pokemon's always been so light on story.
Yeah, but why not? Why not take this opportunity? I know we had this conversation a couple of months back when we were, I think, after one of the big preview events for Pokemon Sword and Shield, about how this would have been such an amazing time for Nintendo to put a bunch of resources behind making this the biggest, best Pokemon that's ever been created, because they have market dominance as the PS4 and the Xbox One are winding down their life cycles in advance of new consoles coming to market next year. Mm-hmm. This is Nintendo's holiday to really make a giant splash, and Pokemon has always been one of their best-selling franchises. They could have done something on the level of Breath of the Wild, what they did with Legend of Zelda, and I'm just still like a little disappointed they didn't. Doesn't mean what they did was bad, and obviously
not.
Have been selling millions of copies, and millions more are going to be sold, and people are really enjoying their time with the game. But I think it would have been awesome and really, really cool of Nintendo to say, you know what, now is the time for us to reinvigorate this decades-long franchise with some new gameplay.
I think even if they didn't go that route, I think even back to what Brittany was saying, I mean, I even remember though in Red and Blue, like you would go to a town and there would be something, there like a story. It would be really
like
light.
Lavender Town.
Yeah,
like
that. Everyone had, there was like a very small secret sort of thing. Like you would go around and uncover what was happening in that town, because there was always something happening. Are you telling me that is not what's going on in this game?
And I mean, that's kind of, I mean, that's another part of it. Something else I want to bring up is I feel like it's just very, you know, you go on the different routes, right? And then there's the wild area, and then there's the towns, but there's no little real mini dungeons, kind of like Mount Moon, or like the whole stuff going in Lavender Town, for example. So it feels very straightforward, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's funny because like they've done it before, and it works, and it's interesting, and you're like, ooh, what's Team Rocket doing over here? Right. Oh, okay, they're doing something weird with Cubone and his mom, but like,
I'm like Ariel, I want more.
Yeah, no, that's fair, especially because it is very pretty, and like.
Yeah, and
they've done a nice job with that.
The towns are great, but you're in and out, and you really have no incentive to go back and like keep checking them out. You know, it's you're in and out. I use the Poke Centers. All the Poke Centers sell the same things, and so you get badges, blah blah blah. But there's new fashion in every area, and there's haircuts you can get. That's fun. And I do go in and I talk to everyone because that's just what you do, even though they really have nothing interesting to say. It's still part of the Pokemon charm. But after this many years of Pokemon, it would have been nice if you felt like something had changed a little bit, a little more mature, something else going on there. It's a very safe. I don't know if safe is the word, because it's kind of the same thing, just on a Switch. But obviously, the wild area is different. You know, the towns are larger. It's more beautiful. The game as a whole is just bigger, and it never really feels dull or, you're in dead space. But I feel like for these changes that we've talked about, like the Breath of the Wild, the game itself has to change. And in what aspects, I don't know, because I'm like not a game developer, but I can think about things, make it okay, let's talk about the wild area, because this is kind of all ties in. So how much have you explored the wild area?
Not at all. I'm there right now.
Okay. So the Galar region.
If I had been late and not come to this, I would be in the wild area.
Well, we're glad that you missed the wild area to come join us for What's Good Games.
I'm very happy.
I brought my Switch with me.
Oh,
so
good.
I'll
I have
hop
my
into
Switch.
it later.
We can trade Pokemon later. Just
Okay.
I light a candle. Have a glass
You
of
can
wine.
just give me Pokemon because I have nothing to give
Okay,
you.
I have things to give you. So the wild area, it kind of takes up, I would say, about half of the Galar region, and it runs from like toward the bottom of the map, about 3/4 of the way up, and it just kind of runs through a lot of the towns, and then a lot of the routes kind of span off from that. So
Is it like Safari Zone?
kind of, but it's all like grass. It's all like greeny grass, but there's a few desert areas of it which are like kind of cool. But if you want like your snowy area, if you want like your foresty area, those are just linear routes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Pokemon lingo. It's not like open world sense. And granted, we knew we weren't getting anything open world. So while I appreciate what the wild area has accomplished, because it is cool, it's a big map. I mean, it takes time to run from point A to point B. It's not like a small little patch of stuff. You know, and you see Pokemon running around randomly, you know, like the big boys will spawn and they're just like stomping around and you're like, oh shit. And they hunt you down like Daddy Machamp does.
You're like, run!
Yeah. And then you have the tall grass where you can see Pokemon spawning in there more regularly. And then, you know, you do have your random encounters where different Pokemon will spawn in there too. And you get to ride your bike, you get to find people, and there's lakes, and then there's a max raid battle. So there's things to see and do, but the scenery itself is just so, it's just all like greeny and treesy. You know how I feel about trees. And so while I appreciate the scope of it, it's not quite
knocking your socks off.
Yeah, it's cool. And like as a fan, it's very exciting. It's like, oh my God, I get to run around and look at like what's spawning here, and it's neat. But then, you know, having played as many games as, you know, we've played, you have other games that you can pull from and compare to. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm thinking about how cool it would have been if there was like a volcano area, you know, where all the fire Pokemon were, or if there was
And rock.
Yeah, and rock. There's snow area where there's like the ice and all the ice cream Pokemon running around. And maybe, you know, you don't have one huge open area, but you have a bunch of little sandboxy areas. But that's not what happened here. So it's the same. I knew I would feel this way. I'm having so much fun, but at the same time, I can't help think like I want more.
But
like,
yeah, I wish that they had done a little bit more.
Yeah, like do that next generation jump that I feel like would be worthy of the first hard, you know, Switch home console version of this game. But as we've seen, they're selling buttloads. So does it need to?
I think
do they need to change?
Yeah,
yes,
that's
they
the
will
thing.
need to.
I mean,
Eventually.
But I think right now they would probably be just like that poor developer at Valve, where it's like it's a little scary to try and change this formula too much or to really revamp it. But again, I think that's why that they could have and should have explored smaller things like we were talking about, like more Lavender Town kind of stories, and just like, okay, well, build the world and flesh it out really as best you can and tell some interesting little tidbits and side stories and just like build that way. If that's the way, if you're like, you know what, we really are not going to change this gameplay whatsoever because we want everyone to love us and we think that if we do anything different, everyone will hate us. Fine. All right, whatever. But like there are other places and other areas of this game that you could expand and redevelop.
Yeah, because the story is incredibly, like, obviously you want to become the gym master,
Would you say you want to be the very best?
Like no one ever was. And you go through your gym challenges, you get your badges, and the idea is you face the ultimate gym leader at the end, and now you're there. And
I assume you face Dynamax Charizard, but
probably. Yeah, that Gigantamax Charizard.
Gigantamax. So, yeah, I keep getting Dynamax and Gigantamax mixed up.
Gigantamax like changes
as you do.
But there is like a little side story going on, which is interesting. It's cool.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
It's a thing, but like it's obviously like that's not the focus of the game. So I think in order to incorporate a lot of these things we're talking about, the game needs to become more story focused, and it needs to kind of be something more than just get the gym badges. And it's kind of like the same old like Mario save Peach from the castle kind of thing. It's kind of been done way too many times, I think. And while it's so much fun and it's fun to play, I think there's just so much potential, you know. And I think incorporating little dungeons again and make it so maybe you have to catch certain Pokemon to get farther into a dungeon or to gain access to an area. I think of, again,
there was stuff like that, because you'd be like, you need at least a Pokemon that can learn this ability to get you through certain areas.
This one though.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I'm saying like this is not even new stuff. Like this is stuff they've done before. So why not at least keep that in and then maybe tweak it to like make it a little more interesting?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about if you have this open world concept And it's just like, go on with your bad self. There's Pokemon everywhere. Catch what you want, evolve it, and learn the skills you want. But if you want to access that dungeon over there, you got to learn this, that, and the other. And you have to have Pokemon that do
You
this.
need to be a certain level or
kind of Metroidvania in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then there'd be super cool new Pokemon in there.
Yeah. That's, and if, maybe they're not necessary to complete the game, but it would be really cool to have it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my mind's wandering as I'm playing it. You're after you've played so many Pokemon games, or, you start thinking like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could do this, or if I could do that, or if that was an option. So in some ways, this game has really, pushed it forward in some aspects. It's kind of what you
visually,
expect.
I think is the main one.
The wild area is cool. The combat's always fun. Gigantamax is kind of a weird thing because you can only do
I hate the bracelet. They put it on me, and I immediately was like, it's ugly. I want it off. I'm like,
can't take that shit off.
I know, and then you can't change it, which is bullshit.
Either, which is
and I do love the fashion, though. Like, immediately when I walked into the clothing shop, I was like, oh no, this is Danger Town, because I'm going to spend way too much time
and I'm usually
in the
not one
fucking
who
clothing
cares,
store being
but
like, these leggings and this top and these shoes, and it's going to be bad, but it's fine.
It's fine, but it's good because I am also someone who's like not into that, but I'm into it.
Yeah.
My girl has like a parka on right now because I'm in the snow, and I'm like, I need to be warm.
You're like, I need to.
Yeah. So yeah,
Be
I think
dressed
in
for
some
the occasion.
senses, I think the wild area is a really cool step forward for the genre. It's not the step forward, but it is at least a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's good fun. It's just when you're playing it, you can't help but think like this is where they could have done better.
The one thing I did appreciate, and granted, this might just be because the main Pokemon series that sticks with me is Red and Blue. I've played other ones since, but I've played so much of that it's ingrained as like the one and only. And coming into it with like the new way they've sort of twisted your quote unquote rival, I appreciated because they're way less annoying. So Hop is like, if you don't know because you're young, Red and Blue, your rival is just an asshole. He's your neighborhood kid who is a punk, and you want to punch him in the face all the time because he's just shit talking you and saying how bad you are. And I'm like, I fucking hate this kid. Everyone hates that kid. And now you have a friend, and it's more of like, okay, this is a friendly rivalry. And even the champ guy, Leon, is like, I just want to see all of the trainers succeed from this region. I was like, it's kind of nice that they're making it a little bit less like combative. Like, you're still obviously battling these people, but no one's belittling you or tearing you down in a way that it, at least once upon a time, 20,000 years ago, it used to do.
I wonder, Steimer, what do you think about this? Do you think the reason that this game seems to have cut out like the dungeons and the little like exploration parts of it could be because the Nintendo and Game Freak, they know that a lot of people are making the jump from 3DS, well, not 3DS, sorry, from like Pokemon, maybe Go, or maybe Let's Go to this. They want to make it more accessible, easier to understand and accessible that way.
I mean, yeah, that could definitely be it, but I also feel like Pokemon has had such a large audience already. This isn't necessarily in need of a gateway drug. Like,
Sure.
Like it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty popular in a lot of ways. Even though people, I think, on mobile, it really expanded. I don't think anyone would have like a rough time heading in there, even if there was a dungeon, because again, like you said, you could have made it optional.
Easy to learn, difficult to master has always been Pokemon's
Yes,
thing.
yeah, because there's definitely a lot of depth there that you can either ignore completely, which is usually what I do, or really dive into and start breeding and like doing all sorts of stuff.
Breeding. Yeah, and so something with this one, and some of these features may have been in Let's Go, but experience share is on. So which I appreciate.
Love.
I know.
Wait, what is that?
So before, you only got experience if the Pokemon came out and like fought. So I mean, again, before my old ass, I don't know how recently they updated it, but
I think it was just with Let's Go.
Just with Let's Go.
think
Okay,
so.
yeah. And so if you have a party of 6, you have to either like cycle through, make sure every single one of those fuckers comes out so that they can get any XP. Or you're just leveling up one person or one Pokemon at a time. And now they have shared experience. So even if all you fight with is your starter, everyone else in the party also gets XP, which is so much nicer.
And XP share is in the other games too, but it's usually not till like later in the game. So this just makes it easier to
get started.
Get good. And also it's nice because there's so many different types. You have like grass, water, fire, ice, dark, poison, fairy, steel, rock, ground.
There's
I'm
like,
a lot.
There's a lot.
And they all have strengths and weaknesses against each other. And what's nice now is after
Well, I've seen the grid.
oh yeah, that's right. You have seen the grid.
It's terrifying.
It's a
There's
lot.
a lot.
Once you've fought one Pokemon, and I think made it faint or caught it or whatnot, when you fight that Pokemon again, it'll tell you what moves you have that are effective or not effective against it. And
Yeah,
the same
it's
if
so
you
nice.
go through, like, let's say you're trying to fight like something with a Magikarp, and you're like, wow, this isn't working very well.
But you told me it's the best Pokemon.
It is the best fucking Pokemon, and I stand by that.
Okay, just
I have a pet
just wanted to
Magikarp,
hear it again.
and he flops around at my camp. I play ball with him. He goes after my little feather that I wag at his face. It's fantastic.
I feel like you aren't taking Magikarp seriously.
Oh no, I am. I'm giving him TLC. I'm making him curry.
You're making
So what you can do is you can go through your Pokemon that you want to use, and it'll say like, okay, this will work, this will work, this will not work. So you don't have to actually try to learn. Granted, it's helpful, but
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a good one to hop in.
All right.
That's all.
Listen, this has been a lengthy discussion on Pokemon Sword and Shield. Thank you, ladies. I think we'll probably hear more about Pokemon next week and the week after as Steimer gets in and I get in and
That's what she said.
and Brittany is, Dynamaxing till
the
end of her days.
Gigantamaxing.
Dynamaxing in the gym because that's the only place you can do it because apparently that's a power spot.
Oh, well then.
Make your Pokemon curry.
Do
Do it, you bastards.
Make your food.
Jason doesn't give us Pokemon TLC. It makes me sad.
What a dick. I do want to pivot and talk a little bit about a console launch that happened this week.
Did it?
Yes, it did. It happened. Now, how it was received, however, is remains to be seen, I guess. So you guys may have heard about this little thing called Google Stadia. So Google sent me a review kit for Stadia. It included a Pixel 4.5, Pixel 4a, I think is the phone. That is, of course, Google's Android mobile device. They sent me a Stadia controller, and they sent me the special Chromecast Ultra. So it's interesting because we already have a Chromecast Ultra in our house because I really love the Chromecast functionality. It works with a ton of apps. It's great. And I was really looking forward to being able to use Stadia with it. But lo and behold, that functionality does not work yet. Eventually...
So they sent you a thing that doesn't function?
No, they sent me one specifically that came in the Founders Edition, but you cannot use Google Stadia on any other Chromecast Ultra except the ones that come in the Founders Edition.
Oh, I see.
So if it was shipped with the controller and is like prepackaged as part of the Stadia
Got it.
like box set, you're good to go. If you just have a Chromecast Ultra laying around, not
Shit
good
out
to
of
go.
luck.
Yes,
again.
exactly. You can't just buy another controller and get it to work. At least not yet. The idea is that eventually they'll, push an update where all the Chromecast Ultras out there will work with Stadia. So I set up my account. I was able to snag a gamer tag, and I started playing. And I found out just how magical it is being able to input a code into Google Stadia's store online and then being able to play the game nearly instantaneously. And that is something that I think Stadia can lord over every other device and platform that exists today. And I think it's really impressive that they were able to make that technology work. And we tested it out so Brittany could see it. Last night we decided to buy Final Fantasy 15. They have it if you are a Pro subscriber, which everybody right now is. If you got a Founders Edition, you have 3 months of Stadia Pro included. And it was discounted to $29.99 for the Royal Edition, right? Did we look that up?
Yes, it is.
And so we bought it, and boom, started playing right away.
I was with my husbandos in a few minutes, and it was great.
It was, to me, this is like the standout feature of Google Stadia, is the idea that you can decide you want to play something and there's no downloading of patches or files or copying anything. It's just you download it and you play it. So they provided me with some codes for a number of the launch titles that were originally announced for Stadia, the original 12 before they expanded it to 22 on Sunday, which was a weird move, but I guess good.
Maybe all of those deals just got signed and they were like, shit, upload it.
Well, they were announced to be released before the end of 2019. They just moved that up, and I'm not quite sure why that happened.
They were like,
yeah.
All the shit they got.
we
for
actually
12.
need more. Maybe people want more than 12.
Well, and they definitely need more than 22 as well, because you can't count the individual Tomb Raiders as 3 separate titles. Come on, guys. I mean, I guess technically you can.
Like, yes, you can.
But I mean, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, the original from 2013, I think. Like that's going to be one of your launch titles or your 12 launch titles.
I mean,
Fun game. No, don't get me wrong, but so one of the games, of course, that I was most looking forward to playing was Destiny 2. This has been a big push for them with Bungie as being one of their flagship titles for Stadia's launch. And you know how great it's supposed to run and how cross-save has been implemented across Destiny 2. You can just bring your Guardian with you. And so I put my code in and started playing right away. And again, continually impressed by the magic of putting the code in and being able to fly to the tower within 2 minutes. Whereas if I was going to boot it up on my PlayStation 4, you know, I'm going to install everything that's been released from Destiny 2 up to Shadowkeep.
You're going to walk away for a while. You're going to do what I did, which is I leave this to download while I sleep. Goodbye. And then I come back and play it later.
So I think that is something is to be lauded and that Google has absolutely delivered on that promise. However, a lot of the other promises they have not delivered on, and that to me is incredibly frustrating and disappointing for something that has been really pitched as a console launch. This doesn't feel like a console launch. It feels like a brand new, really crazy piece of tech that needs to be beta tested for a while. And they shouldn't have been promoting it as like Founders Editions and Stadia Pro, and you're going to have all these access to all these things. I don't even have my Buddy Pass yet that came with my Founders Edition. It's not active. Like if I go to Buddy Pass on the app, it just says, oh, we'll be implementing this soon. I'm like, oops. Cool, I guess.
Are you going to ping me when it's ready? What are you going to do?
Yeah, so it's been tough. So I played a bunch of different games, and I ran Brittany through a bunch of different games last night as well. So checked out Red Dead Redemption 2, checked out Mortal Kombat 11. We played a little bit of Guilt. We tried Final Fantasy 15, tried Destiny 2. I tried Tomb Raider or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the most recent installment in that franchise, and all of them looked good at 1080p. I only was able, I think, to get one game actually stream in 4K, or what they called upscaled 4K, not even like native 4K. And that was my third attempt at Destiny 2. My first attempt at Destiny 2 was absolutely horrific. It was super dark. It was almost unplayable. The textures were popping in and out all over the place. And the input lag from the controller was atrocious to the point where I couldn't even play it. I got so frustrated. I put it down and walked away and was just ranting around the house about how mad I was about it.
Scaring the cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it looked okay, and sometimes it looked good last night. Other times it just looked okay. You know, especially I remember Red Dead Redemption 2 just being this gorgeous game. Mm-hmm. And as we were playing, I'm like, this looks okay. It looks fine. Never looks terrible.
Right.
Let's just get that clear. But it doesn't have that, oh my God, moment. And when we were playing Mortal Kombat 11 and doing the campaign stuff, a lot of times it was stuttering and so bad to the point where the audio would get desynced from the lips.
In the campaign. In story mode.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, we've said it before, but Andrea has baller internet compared to, I think, what a lot of people have.
Yeah, so I mean, when we were doing the test last night, and I tried Stadia both on Wi-Fi and on plugged Ethernet, because obviously Google is recommending for maximum connection that you plug your Chromecast in. Inherently kind of an awkward setup unless you have an HDMI connector, because the Chromecast is small. It's this tiny little disc that's probably the diameter of like a tennis ball that you plug directly into the HDMI ports on the back of your television. So that means you have to run an Ethernet cable up behind your TV, or you have to get an HDMI extension to bring your Chromecast down to the ground where your Ethernet port probably is. So not ideal from a cable management perspective. Just want to point that out. But my Wi-Fi speeds are around 300 megabits per second down and around 15 to 20 megabits per second up. And my wired speeds vary from 500 to 800 megabits per second down and anywhere from 20 to 40 up. So just so you guys have an idea of the speeds that we were working with here, that's what we got. And I was only able to get Destiny 2 to pop into what looked like 4K to me on my 4K TV. one time in my 3 PlayStations. And it really has this Netflix effect.
Yeah.
Where when you boot it up, it kind of looks super rough, and then you let it play for a few minutes, and then it kind of like pops in.
Yeah.
But then like you'll have instances where you'll get like a hiccup in your internet connection, and it'll like pop out and then pop back in. You get like texture loading, and that to me is always going to be a struggle for Stadia as a platform. And it's something, that I, chatted with Jack Buser about when we were, talking, the other week. And I said, what is Google doing to combat this? And they're like, we're working as diligently as we can to, optimize our systems to be able to recognize as many different types of connections as possible. And he's like, it's always going to be a work in progress because we can't really, and I'm paraphrasing here to be clear, from our conversation. This is not a direct quote. Because you're always working with all of these different, vendors on the other side. But when it works, it looks really good and it really works. But it was just so inconsistent. It's really hard for me to recommend it to anybody unless you're truly a tech nerd that wants to try this new technology before anybody else and is really excited about the opportunity to play games on the go. But it's tough because I haven't been able to try Stadia yet in a travel environment, at a hotel on hotel Wi-Fi,
Oh, God.
in an airport on airport Wi-Fi, over
shudder
a
to
mobile
think of it.
connection, right? And that leads me to the problem that Stadia truly has and isn't really discussing, and that's data rates. So I'm trying to pull up Jeff Grubb over at VentureBeat because he did an extensive test on the data rates. But while I find the exact data, in Stadia, when you pull up the app on your phone, whether you have an Android, iOS, or you're pulling up it at like stadia.google.com on your web browser, it says that at a minimum, if you're locking it as low as it can go, it still can stream up to 4.5 gigabytes of data per hour at 720p frame rate. I think Jeff's calculations when he did a test was around 115 megabytes of data per minute playing. So that means you can get upwards up to like 20 gigabytes per hour if you're streaming at 4K quality, which is really like what Stadia's whole pitch is, right? That to me is absolutely outrageous. If you don't have unlimited data, then Stadia is, I think, virtually unplayable for you.
Mm-hmm. So I, for shits and giggles, because we have Xfinity, I went to look at our data usage, how much we use. And Jason and I use an average of about 700 gigs a month in data. So we do have a data cap of 1,024. And I know
so like a terabyte?
Terabyte, yeah. It's like 1,024 gigs. So I was looking at some of this stuff this morning, too, while I was laying in your very, very comfortable guest bed.
Thanks.
And I know you're going to pull it up, but I was like, that shouldn't be an issue. But then when you look at the 4K part of it and how much that really takes up, like we would blow through that between the two of us if we were both using Stadia.
Well, if you played, let's just take Red Dead Redemption 2, a game you absolutely want to play in 4K because it's so gorgeous. 800 gigabytes if you were to play 40 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2 in a single month.
And that's just one person.
That's just one person. That's just one game.
Yeah.
800 gigabytes.
Damn. Yeah, a lot of people have data caps, and if you go over that, then you have throttling, you have overage fees, and it's not good. So, yeah, it's a weird thing because on one hand, once they get their controller support all figured out, whatnot, if you want to just pay the $70 for the Chromecast and maybe the $10 month subscription fee, there's a very affordable way to play games on the go. Or if you know someone who doesn't want to hassle with consoles or whatnot, I can see how this could be attractive.
Yeah, I think right now there's just too much that's not being implemented. So, for example, I have an iPhone, like millions of other people on the planet do, and I can't play Stadia on my iPhone because there is no iOS support right now. If you want to play on a mobile device, you can only play on a Google Pixel right now. So that's why Google sent a Pixel in the review kit, because it's the only way to test it on mobile. Yeah. And so that to me was frustrating. And what's even more frustrating is the controller and the way that the controller is currently working with the console. So the console is essentially supposed to be like in the cloud, right? But right now the controller only works with the Chromecast Ultra that got was in the pack-in Founders Edition. If you want to play it on a Pixel, you have to hardwire it with a USB-C cable from the Stadia controller into the phone. If you want to play on your PC, you have to hardwire it with a cable into your PC as well. And that to me is just like really kind of a head scratcher when you were touting the really amazing Wi-Fi tech that you've built into this controller, and the Google Assistant feature isn't even live yet. I kept accidentally hitting that button last night.
Yeah,
and being like, oh, whoops, I guess I can't do any of the, voice activated things with Stadia right now.
Right. And I think that's why we just keep saying, it's a cool concept. And once they fix a lot of these issues, like I said, once the controller support is a thing, you don't have to use the Stadia controller, which I just found so incredibly uncomfortable. But, if you don't have the Stadia controller, you can't use the Google Assistant. You can't save your clips. You can't connect. I think the Chromecast Ultra can only work with the Stadia controller on your big TV.
Right.
So if you want to play on the big TV, you have to have one of these controllers anyway. Again, like, it's a cool thought. And I think once they nail everything, then you still have the data caps you got to worry about, but that's another struggle. Great. But right now, it's just not a thing that should be touted as a launch. And there's that commercial we watched last night.
Oh, wow.
There's a commercial? I
Oh,
wanna see.
dude.
It's
Yeah.
so bad.
So it's a little bit long. Otherwise, I would pull it up and we could watch it here. But it features comedian Reggie Watts. And essentially, like, he's going around saying, like, how revolutionary it is as a platform. And I'm like, I mean, yes, but no. And a lot of it's just really false. Like, there's like this big thing that he talks about how it's like where you can play all of the games that you want to play. And it's like, nah, dog. There's a lot of the games that are not even new. We talk about games that are like out this
Don't you
year.
want to play 22 games only and most of them are old?
It's just, there's so much potential.
That's what every boy and girl wants.
Every good boy and girl.
Yes, I'm struggling because I can see the genius behind all of the crap that's happening right now this week. Because even last night when Brittany and I were messing around in Red Dead Online and she made me this exhausted alcoholic character.
You're so pretty, though.
It's so pretty. I was able to hit the screenshot button on the controller and it instantly uploaded to the app. So I could pull up my phone and look at the Stadia app. They don't have the ability to edit screenshots in the app yet, and there's no auto rotation, so I had to literally screenshot it because you also can't share directly from the Stadia app yet either. So I had to screenshot the screenshot.
Amazing.
And then crop it and then post it. But the idea that I could take a screenshot that I made on the TV that I was playing and then have it appear on my phone instantaneously was really cool. Because in order to do that on a PlayStation 4, the easiest way for me to do that is for me to send it in a private message to somebody, usually John, sorry honey, and then I pull the PlayStation Messages app up on my phone, and then I can save the screenshot in my phone from the Messages app, and then I can share it, because I hate using the integrated share features in PlayStation.
Yeah,
it's just
not
cumbersome, especially just to type anything. So I see that where they're going, and I appreciate what they're trying to accomplish. They just haven't accomplished it yet, and it's really frustrating to me that they are just getting away with this advertising, which to me is just false. They're doing false advertising for what Stadia is right now.
Also, apparently, like what you guys have said, they shouldn't be advertising right now. Maybe wait.
You're right.
Maybe
Steimer.
wait until your shit's together and then start advertising for it, because otherwise people are just going, like, you have one shot at a first impression, right?
They should have delayed the launch of Stadia until after the holiday season.
But even if they didn't, because they're like, we need to get this out and we want some sales, like, I think you could still do a launch, but again, maybe like repitch it to be like, well, it's kind of like
Again, like
I said, first access and not like the launch.
Like xCloud's
Yeah.
doing. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
we get this is very early. We need people to help us test it out.
Mhm.
Therefore, you don't
it's going to be on Game
you
Preview.
don't get Andrea ranting when she's so upset right now because it would be a beta and she'd have proper
I
expectations.
waited for 5 minutes in the Crucible and it never match made me with
that
anybody.
game needs crossplay real bad.
Oh.
Yeah, it's again like just launch your shit if it's not ready. Don't put out these commercials. Don't say, "Oh, it's so cool and revolutionary," when clearly you're still figuring your shit out. Then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be like, "It's a really cool thing, and we're excited to see the future." Right now, we're just angry.
Yeah. I think Stadia will become revolutionary when developers make games more games cross-save and make more games cross-platform. Because right now, that's where Stadia is going to really benefit people, is people who have another primary gaming device.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can play with their friends or bring their characters from their primary device to Stadia on the go.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where Stadia would become my primary gaming device literally ever. And the data transfer rates is part of that, but also if I'm going to spend the time to boot up a game and play for a session, I don't want the gameplay to look like the look of the gameplay to pop in and out the entire time I'm playing.
No, yeah, that'd be frustrating.
Like I can't, like, I tolerate it with Netflix because most of what you watch on streaming services is like an hour, or is maybe like, you know, like 30-minute episodes or 60-minute episodes. You know, you can take breaks in between them. And ultimately, like, it doesn't really bother me as much, but like there's something about the interactivity in games and the fidelity of games today that, like, when the textures weren't loading properly, it just was incredibly irritating to me.
Yeah. Also, the controller just sucks. I'm just gonna say
I do not care for the controller.
It's too wide. I think it's too wide, and the L1 and R1 and R2 buttons or whatnot, they're too close to each other.
Yes.
And so, like, there's really no gap between them.
And there's too much of you have to depress the trigger buttons too far before the input
yeah,
like is registered. And that I hate that,
And the
because
D-pad
especially
is
with shooters, like when you're hitting the triggers all the time, like I just did not care. I just did not care for the Stadia controller. When I first saw it, I knew I wasn't going to like it. I still don't like it. Unless they're going to add some kind of like pro level functionality to the controller at some point where you can change some of the settings, not unlike what we've seen with the Astro controller or like the Xbox Pro controller.
Yeah,
But like,
I don't know if that's even the issue. Is just, it's weird to call it this, but I've called it this before. It's stiff, because every controller is stiff.
Right.
But you feel like you're just holding like this awkward thing. And I know trying to reinvent the wheel and make a controller everyone loves is a hard thing when people have been making controllers for a very long time. But it's just uncomfortable. The buttons are too close together. The D-pad is slippery as hell. And it's just like, I think it just needs to be a little bit more ergonomic. Is that the word?
Yeah.
yeah,
That
is the word.
Yeah, look at me using big words, big words. Anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, my final kind of thoughts on it are that I absolutely am here for a future where developers can push updates to their game and gamers get them automatically, and you don't have to do any downloading or installing of patches, and that game developers can literally be working on their game up until the very last minute before launch, because it will get uploaded instantaneously into the Google servers because they're so powerful and so quick. But there's just so much about it as a platform that's just not ready. That's not ready for consumers. It's not ready for launch, that they should have let it cook a little bit longer before they rolled it out. And there's just way too many features missing for people that were promoted on the box. And I think it's a really big disappointment that Google rolled it out the way they did. I think messaging here matters so much. And if they had changed some of the messaging, I probably wouldn't be as disappointed as I am if my expectations had been set properly going into what Stadia is.
Fix your shit before Darksiders Genesis. That's why I got my buddy pass, so Jason can play with me.
Do you think that they're going to have the buddy passes ready by Darksiders?
Oh, they better.
I hope so.
That's going to be a real boo-boo if they don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping by next week the buddy passes are ready.
I mean, that's a little ambitious, but, you know, we'll see.
Gosh, it shouldn't be. They were supposed to be ready at launch.
Yeah, I
I'm
was like,
tired.
you're already late.
Can you imagine that, like, Nintendo is advertising a buddy feature and that they just roll out the Switch without it?
No. That's not how things usually go.
Dude,
I mean,
no.
I get it. Some things launch, they're not totally ready, but, like, your main functionality should be ready.
Yeah. Maybe Jade Raymond can save Google Stadia.
Time will tell.
Exactly. All right. Do we want to talk about anything else? Do you want to talk about Fallen Order? You want to play more, or?
I want to play more because right now I'm kind of, and again, maybe I'll eat my hat later or whatever, eat the edible underwear. But right now I just feel like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm not excited about it. I'm more excited about playing more Pokemon than I am about playing more Fallen Order, which is sort of a bummer because I kind of thought I would be more excited about it.
Yeah.
But right now I'm like, I think maybe I'm too early in. I'm at like the third planet or whatever. And I just don't really care about the story, and I care about my little robot buddy, and that's about it. My robot buddy and I
BB1
against
is
the
the
world.
best boy.
Best friends.
But otherwise, kind of just like, meh. And I think it's because of the combat. I finally just turned it down to like story mode because I fucking hate anything Dark Souls-y related. Like, so
I'm with you.
the death and the checkpointing in the game bother me a lot. Even on story mode, granted, obviously I die a lot less now, so it's not as much of an issue. But before I turned it down, I was constantly just like, for fuck's sake.
I'm with you that the difficulty spike between story mode and Jedi Knight is too big of a ramp. I think that it would have been nice for them to make Jedi Knight as a difficulty a little bit more approachable, considering that it is a Star Wars game and it's not a Souls game.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to get a lot of people who want to try this game and try it out because it's Star Wars. And I thought that story mode was like, and it's weird that I would ever say this, but it was too easy. It felt like the combat didn't mean anything.
I didn't care about that because I was also have been super jet lagged, or like I'm just tired, right? Like I just got back. I'm like, the last thing I want to fucking deal with is these dumb assholes that hit you multiple times in a row and then you die, and I'm not interested or here for it. So what I would rather do is just smash you in the face and have you die instantly, and that feels good to me right now. So that's what I'm going to play, or how I'm going to play. And maybe as I get farther into it, I'll bump it back up. But for right now, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to run through this and get through. Because again, I mean, right now, I do not find this story interesting whatsoever. And I like Star Wars fine, but I'm just like, this seems like run-of-the-mill shit.
I'm excited
And maybe
to
it
talk
will
to you.
change. Because again, I'm going to finish this game, but it's just like right now I'm like me.
Okay.
All right, well, I will hold my thoughts then on your thoughts until you play more.
Yeah, I'll play more this weekend for sure.
Okay, cool. On that note, let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Patreon-produced segment.
That's a
Yeah.
great way of putting it.
Is that
Yes.
that
Yes,
works,
great.
Nailed it.
right?
Nailed it.
Cool. It's all about memorable console launches, and then maybe we'll talk about some essential Thanksgiving dishes because it's almost Thanksgiving. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to our feature segment of the What's Good Games podcast. This week, we polled our patrons at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames and asked them, what do you guys want to hear for the Patreon-produced segment for the month of November? And you voted. And I believe the winner was Brittany.
Since it feels like consoles tend to launch around this time of year, what's your all-time favorite memorable console launch? I don't know if the person who
Ooh.
submitted that actually talks like that.
Maybe they do.
They could.
Well, we are going to answer that question in just a second, and I'm sure it's already stirring up memories within you. But before we do that, we want to say a huge thank you and shout out to our Mythic patrons and above. Of course, if you guys want to get your own shout out on What's Good Games, you have to go to patreon.com/whatsgoodgames and sign up to be a Mythic patron or above. We've got all kinds of really fun tiers and membership levels and things like that you can be involved in. I have to say, this month's postcard is a doozy.
I think I've outdone myself.
When Britt originally sent this over, I was like, are we vomiting in this picture? What's happening? And you may have seen Britt tweet about me questioning her artistic integrity.
Fine art is a complicated thing.
It's
Some
all
people-
so subjective.
Yeah, and if you think my fire looks like barf, well, okay.
Wow. Once you see it, you'll understand. But
Yeah.
you've got to be at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. All right. Without further ado, how about we just go 1, 2, 3, and then
Perfect.
rotate?
Yeah.
All right. Steimer, take it away.
Aaron Saxton.
Adam Boys.
Adam Green,
Adrienne Rock Williams.
Al Tribesman.
Alan Mail,
Alberto Andreas Videla.
Alyx Rigopulous.
Andrew Cole, and
Anthony Murphy.
Arkov.
Ariella Berman,
Bill Stillwell.
Bill Zimmerman.
Billy Shibley,
Brendan Clark.
Brian Harper.
Brian R. Johnston,
Brian Sweeney.
Carl Peterson.
Chewy's Godson,
Chris Campbell.
Chris Redfield, a.k.a. Marty McFly, a.k.a. Brandon Schwartz.
Chris Wilson,
Chris Krister Lindmark.
Krister.
Krister.
New name.
like it.
Never heard that before.
Shy Jackson Burgess.
Kristen Rodriguez.
Dale Sun.
David Cook.
David Akaluche.
Devin Nitz.
Did more.
Drew Quesada. I
Dustin,
almost said quesadilla.
I know, me too. I was thinking in my head it was quesadilla.
food on the brain.
Yep.
Dustin Lewis.
Benjamin Checkness.
Izari.
El Hafarino.
Elizabeth Brooke.
Emo Shell.
Emily Kent.
Erminger Dorinda.
Yeah, Orinda
Oh.
never wrote in and let us know.
Oh, I don't think. No, you're right. Sorry if I just totally was dick
mean,
about
but-
your name.
But it's such a cool name.
It
It
is.
is.
Okay, sorry.
Ethan Anderson.
Faris Attieh.
Flying Saucer Media.
Gabe Brown.
Gary Welburn.
Jeff Hutchinson.
Gio Corsi.
Gregory Horton.
Edison Pink.
Ivan Bejarano.
Jacob Ernest.
Jake Soup.
Jared Howard.
Jasmine Lee.
Jason Kahn.
Jay Mahue.
Jason Demers.
Jessica Bloom.
Joe Kennison.
Joe Schleif.
Joe Wilson.
John Drake.
Josel Bassa.
Josh.
Justin Foshi.
Justin Foss.
Kevin Dunkel.
Kia B.
Kyle Heyman.
Kyle Kaiser.
Kyle Somerville.
Leonardo Roberto Talavera Barocchio.
Anger. Latif Charleston.
Lincoln Davis.
Lindsay Kelsey.
Lucas Shaney.
Lila Sick. Formerly Cool Rat Daddy.
Marco Ontiveros.
Marcus Brown.
Mark Drastrup.
Martha Emery.
Martin T. Azurd.
Materia Addict.
Matt Nichols.
Matthew Grach.
Matthew Simpson.
Valenthius Owens.
Michael S.
Michaela Sage.
Mike Lynch.
Mike Murphy.
Mike Queen.
Mohammed Mohammed.
Molly Bittner.
Morgan Lawton.
Mr. Mathematics.
Nam Wee.
Name withheld.
I appreciate the extra lengths you did to write name in the first name field and withheld in the last name
Even
field.
capitalized
Yep.
too.
Did good.
Nathan Watkins.
Nicole Humphrey.
Noel Nevarez.
Oswaldo Sandoval.
Ozai Pia.
Paige Porter.
Patrick Higgins.
Patrick Landry.
Patrick Weller.
Paul Bryant.
Paul Fawcett.
Per Kilstoff.
Pete Shoemaker.
Professor Middle Gear.
Punctified.
Pure Blue Octopus. I
RJ.
want to take one moment, I didn't mean to interrupt you, to say thank you to Pure Blue Octopus for the letter that you sent us. I haven't written you back a response yet because I'm trying to be contemplative. That's the word.
It's a really
Contemplative.
really sweet email.
So thank you very much. We've read it. We love you. You're great.
I think she just joined us on Patreon. I might have made that up.
What?
Pure Blue Octopus?
No, Pure Blue Octopus has
You've
there
been
forever.
reading the like for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
No. Okay, no. Twitter. That's what it was. No. Anyway, we just had an interaction. I'll get. It's awkward now.
All right.
R.J. Bryan.
Reagan Ibsen.
Ripped Gamers.
Rob J.
Rob Leonard.
Robert Adams.
Roland Bala.
Ross Haney.
Sam.
Sean I.
Shane Rahim.
Sean Stevenson.
Stephanie DuPont.
Stephanie Fitzwilliam.
Stephen McPherson.
Sydney Kahn.
Take this.
Tara Bruno.
Tara Bruno.
Her name's in there twice.
I don't know why.
She's double sponsoring.
Maybe. Teresa Enert.
The Ghost Dog 420 man.
Whoa. Thomas Jennings.
Throw 7.
Timothy Bennett.
Tony Shea.
Trent Berry.
Trent Pennington.
Trevor Stuckey.
Troy Spradlin.
Trevor Yates.
Tyler McCall.
Varun.
Will Cullum.
Will Hernandez.
Yesenia Sterenos.
Yesenia Cisneros.
Yesenia's.
Yesenia's
Yesenia.
great.
Oh,
You know the
yeah.
two little Pikachus that I have with the little heart between them? She gave that to me
Oh, cute.
when John and I got married. Anyway, sorry.
Am I up?
Yasoon. Wait. This is always the name. And Yasoon hasn't written in to tell us how you pronounce Yasoon's last name. We could use that bunk website that somebody sent us that doesn't know how to pronounce Steimer.
It's true.
Kajano Mai.
Yusuf.
Zach Hershey.
Thank you so much to everybody who is supporting us at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We say it every week. We'll say it again. And we said it this week for Thank You Patrons Day.
We did.
We love you guys. We couldn't do it without you. So I just wanted to make an aside. So I had mentioned something about a website. So somebody wrote to us and said, hey, it's not that hard. Use this website to learn how to pronounce people's names. It's like pronouncenames.com or something.
Uh-huh.
And they got my name right, which I was impressed by. They pronounced it as Andrea. Obviously, Brittany is Brittany. But I put Steimer in because I was like, I'm going to get you. Because it's never the easy names that you need help with. It's the hard names. And it was like, there is no entry for this name. Nobody knows how to pronounce it.
I am the
You're a
unpronounceable.
unicorn.
unpronounceable name.
You're unique and a unicorn.
I am a unique unicorn that
Damn
nobody knows about. I hide in the corner and no one knows that I exist, and no one knows how to pronounce my name, and I don't exist on any website.
Is Steimer a really uncommon last name?
It's not a real last name. My German friends all tell me it is not a German word. It is most likely a typo.
Oh.
Interesting.
Or
Really?
/ like when they came over on Ellis Island, somebody wrote an M instead of an N. Because Steiner is a word.
Steiner is very common.
Steiner
yeah.
is very common. Steimer
Steiner
is not.
is
Imagine
also-
if your name was Steiner, though.
It was supposed to be, I'm sure.
Do you? Would you want us to call you Steiner?
No.
No,
I don't
I
like it
couldn't.
as much.
Because
Right?
No.
Final Fantasy 9
Yeah.
Steiner. Adalbert
Right?
Steiner. I couldn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
You mean
So,
the Hoff?
The typo has worked in my favor.
Interesting. Well, we could just call you Shiva instead.
You could.
I do love that
It's true.
name.
You can call me whatever you
It's
want.
great.
boo-boo.
Again, thank you again. We love you guys. And there's some really fun new names on this list this month. Some names I recognize, some names I don't. We love that we have more people coming into the fold and being part of the What's Good Games family. So we love you. And speaking of our Patreon community, we transitioned the secret segment into being a sponsored segment on the show. And the segment this month we had already mentioned is about memorable console launches. So I think for me, unless somebody else has something that they're itching to say first.
No, you go for it.
I'm not itching.
You're not. Oh, well, that's probably
Actually,
a
I
good
was
thing.
just
That's
itching
for the
my
best.
forehead,
Probably
so
a good
it's kind
thing,
of
yeah.
awkward.
One of the most memorable console launches that I have is when the Nintendo 64 launched.
Oh shit.
I
we
was
going back.
I was a wee lass. Well, not that wee, let's be honest. And I remember it being particularly impactful for me because it was such a big moment for console gaming, jumping from the Super Nintendo Entertainment System up to the Nintendo 64. So many more bits, you guys. 64 bits. And we were just reading all the magazines and talking to all of our friends and being like, oh, it's going to just be so cool. You guys had so many more bits. The graphics, man.
I love the bits. Get more bits.
And looking back on it now, obviously the graphics look crazy. But at the time, it was...
It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, like, it really kind of changed the face of 3D gaming as we know it. And there was so many really innovative and important things about the Nintendo 64 as a console and what it did, not only with the controllers and the schemes and adding in multiplayer and in different ways than its predecessors did. But I just remember that being one of the biggest moments in gaming for me, console gaming specifically for me, because I did play a lot on PC when I was younger, and I just loved it. And then those controllers, I still to this
I
day
hate those fucking controllers.
I think the thing I love and remember most about the controllers is not that terrible joystick, but the colors of the
Oh,
controllers.
okay,
Oh,
sure.
the
Yeah,
gray,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
The colors were fun.
It's because we wanted them in any and every color possible. And my dad to this day still has the Nintendo 64 controller boxes, the original boxes, because every Christmas he would pick a present to wrap in those boxes, and he's kept them.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I almost asked him to bring them to the Fargo meetup, but then I didn't want him to like dig through his like Christmas stuff, like back in
Yeah.
um
Sure, it's buried
October.
deep in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
yeah,
That's cool.
exactly.
I remember when the N64 was coming out. Obviously, I was very, very excited for Ocarina of Time. But I'll never forget because I was too young to quite understand the difference in like consoles and whatnot. When it was being teased, I was getting my Nintendo Power magazine, and in it they were teasing Super Mario 64. But I didn't realize that the game hadn't been out yet. So I was asking for a game that I thought was Super Mario 64 was actually Super Mario RPG. Because in my mind, they look similar. Like, obviously Super Mario RPG has that 3D look to it. So it kind of looked like it. So that's how I got my very first RPG was Super Mario
Aw.
RPG.
A happy
An
accident.
accident.
It was a happy accident. Yeah. It was a very confusing game for my wee last mind back in the day. But I was thinking about the N64 controller and that little analog stick. Remember the Mario Party games where you'd have to like rotate it like this and you'd get dust everywhere? No?
No, we didn't do
That
that.
didn't happen to me either.
I didn't have a Nintendo 64.
No, that happened to me a lot. It was one of the little mini games in Mario Party, and you'd have to, and then you'd get dust everywhere, and it was weird. Anyway,
No, man. I mean,
No?
granted, when I was growing up, we had a couple of consoles, but for the most part, we played on PC. But we did get the original Xbox. And I remember at first being excited about it and then getting it and realizing that controller was way too big for my hands. I have very small hands. I had obviously actually, they were probably I was probably full grown hands
They're very dainty.
by 16, which is I think when we got that console. But I remember when we were trying to do any sort of mini game that required button presses, we had to like sit the controller down on our lap and like hit the buttons. That way, like I couldn't one hand do anything. Like I couldn't hit face buttons properly.
Oh yeah, missed opportunity.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
But and I think we had this horrible Shrek video game because
that sounds
we were stupid and didn't know that it would be garbage, and then we got it and we're like, what is this? But we did have we had Halo and some other shit, but yeah, that was the main teenager like console launch that we got, and we were all like excited, and then we did the thing that we always do, which is we don't buy any games for it, or the games we buy are garbage. So like,
I mean, you don't really have a lot of money as a teenager, right? So you kind of gotta take what you can get.
yeah. And that's like, so when we had I don't remember the Super Nintendo launch. I don't remember how we got it. I don't remember when we got it. I just know that we had it at some point. It just appeared in my brain.
It was just a thing.
Right. It's just like a thing that happened to me at some point in my life.
I got mine for Christmas. I remember
Just
tearing the
appeared,
paperback.
poof.
Yeah, I mean, my brain's not great at remembering details, especially that
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Do you
think.
remember?
I remember getting mine at Christmas.
You're also younger than me, so
Well, I was like,
I got mine
5.
at Christmas too because that's just what you did when you were a
I
kid.
mean, I
Like,
assume that it was Christmas, but I have no proof that it was Christmas.
oh, you don't have an accurate recollection.
Correct. I have
Okay.
I have nothing to confirm or deny that this is a Christmas gift,
was
but I
just
feel like
there
it
at some
probably
point.
was.
yes.
Yeah.
I think the console launch for me that I think I've talked about this before was the Wii. I remember the Revolution. So that
Oh,
came out in
yes.
2006, and I was a senior in high school. And
Oh my
I
god. I
man.
was
Don't say
graduated college the next year.
I had already graduated. Boom. All right, continue.
well, and so one of my classes was a TA for history.
teaching assistant.
That's a bullshit class.
Oh, it was great because I got to
What
do.
was the name of the class?
It was a history / English split.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so it was bizarre.
She was the teacher's assistant for 2 teachers?
Yeah, essentially. So the way it would work, it was I've never had a class like this before. It was one huge room that was the size of 2 classrooms, but then they would sometimes teach both classes as one, and sometimes they would split it because it took over the course of 2 periods, right? So sometimes like 4th and 5th period, it would be English history. Sometimes it would just be a whole day of history. Other times it would be history English, and the teachers would like swatch rooms. I don't know. It was a weird thing.
That is
That
weird.
is really weird. I would never put those 2 courses together because they're so wildly different.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing, but that's the thing they did. So what I got out of it though was 2 classes to fuck around in. And so I just got to do research on the Nintendo Revolution that was coming, and it was really exciting for me. So I graduated in June, and then November was the midnight launch. And I remember calling Fred Meyer in Target, 2 Fred Meyers and 1 Target, to see if there was a line already out. It was like maybe 7 p.m. No, it was earlier than that, probably closer to 5 p.m. I would call like, do you have people in line? Because I didn't pre-order anything. And they're like, okay, we have like 5 people in line. So I woke up. So I went to sleep, woke up, and it turned out there was like 30 people in line by that point.
Wow.
Because I had overslept, and I was very upset.
30 people. What were you going to do?
What? I didn't want to be number 31. I didn't know how many fucking consoles they
Yeah,
had.
because then,
I was
I
upset.
wouldn't want to wait in a line and then get there and then be like, you didn't get it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm
And I was
not
like
okay.
15 minutes away, and I was a paranoid child. And I get this way when there's anything coming up that I really want. Like, I want to be like on it. And so I called my then boyfriend, and he was coming home from a day of hunting with my dad. So he was on his way home, and to get home, they had to go by Fred Meyer. And I said, can you get out of the truck? Can you have my dad drop you off at Fred Meyer? And can you get in line for me so I can do this? And he's like, okay, fine. So my dad dropped him off. He's in full
That's
camo.
a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Full camo, head to toe, deer piss all over him.
Gross.
They were just out hunting.
Actually, that's probably the person you want holding your spot in line because nobody else will want to get in line.
No,
They'll be like leaving the line.
you feel like nope.
He'll make it up to the front by the
Freaking
time you get
weirdo.
there because everyone's not going to want to smell
You
him.
should have asked him to like put some blood on him before
Oh, yeah.
he did get in line first.
Shit. And then so I immediately got in the car and I like raced there because I was paranoid that I was going to get my Wii. Then I got there and there's only like 11 people in line. And then I stood in line for about 6 or 7 hours for the Wii. And that was a
Wow.
fun I still have like the slip that they gave you in line. And I was number 12, and it was like this bright pink.
See, I've
slip.
never done that. I've never stood in line for almost anything. I mean, I've stood in line for like rides at amusement parks.
Yeah.
But I've never done a console launch or an anything launch where I have to wait. I won't do it.
It's
I only stood in line in one game launch, but yeah, never a console launch.
Well, anymore you can just pre-order stuff, and I've gotten good at that. But back then, like I really wasn't. And so it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm going to get it. I might get it. Oh, it's so exciting. But nowadays, you know, you get your pre-order slip. You just show up to the store and then give you the console, and then you bounce.
Right.
And that's how they do game releases. Is like now too.
But
right?
before technology, you had to just
things
wait in
get
line.
Yeah. So that's
sure
fun.
did.
That was cool. Got home, fired up Twilight Princess. Did Wii bowling.
I didn't get a Wii until 2008.
Oh shit, girl.
Because 2006 was when I had just moved to Los Angeles, and the only console that I owned at the time was my PlayStation 2, because I had left my Nintendo 64 and all of my other Nintendo consoles at my dad's house back in North Dakota. And then I brought my PlayStation 2 with, because I was, you know, always on that frequency and GTA Vice City life. And then I knew that I wanted to get an Xbox 360, but I didn't have the money to buy one at the time. And so I started playing Xbox 360 with on my boyfriend's console. And then I eventually got my own. And then I was gifted a Wii by one of my former bosses, because I was hosting at this digital network. And I had kept talking about how I wanted to try the Wii. And so he just gifted me one.
Oh shit.
Nice.
And I was like, hey, thanks, boss.
That's nice.
Yeah,
nice.
well, I was making like $25 a day, so I wasn't exactly about to buy one myself.
Oh no.
You're like, help me, I'm poor.
I'm like, I can only eat ramen so many days in a row, and I just want to play Wii Golf. But the console, like the modern console launch that I think was really impactful for me, not thinking about like being a kid, but being an adult, like working in the industry, was this last generation launch. Like seeing the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One launch, and really being part of the coverage from when the rumors first started circulating about the Xbox 720. You guys remember those rumors?
Oh yeah. So many flips.
And then, you know, seeing the reveal events from both Xbox and PlayStation, and then how they had these dual launches, and going into all of these retail stores and seeing like the blue versus green inside all of the store setups. And it was just a really fun time, and it was a really fun thing to be a part of. I vividly remember plugging in the PlayStation 4 for the first time and listening to the tone of the like the home screen, and like how soothing it was.
Oh,
you hate it?
I hate like whenever you turn on your PlayStation 4 and then like before you sign in on your profile, I hate that fucking noise. I hate that tune. It makes me so like I get irrationally angry whenever I have to turn on my PlayStation, because I know I'm gonna hear that tone.
Why don't you just mute your TV?
Because I don't want it.
I'm trying to
Till you get to your theme, and then turn the volume up.
because
I haven't thought about it, Andrea.
that's just it.
It's just a visceral. It's just a knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, I hate this fucking tone, and it's back
I'm
again.
trying to remember what it sounds like, because it's been so long
It's
since
like
I've shut it off.
boom, boom, boom. It's like these tones.
It's just tones, but there's something offensive about it to me.
I'll boot up the PlayStation so you
Okay, I
can
want
hear
to
it.
hear it. Yeah, I have to be able to hear this, because I haven't shut off my PlayStation in so long. I don't remember what it's like.
Yeah, I have to power mine down now, because all of the games that are in John's library from when he worked for PlayStation make it like
break
super
the PlayStation.
essentially. Yeah.
I have a similar issue because I also worked at PlayStation, so like I just need to turn it off every now and again to like, give it a rest.
Yeah, like suspend mode is just not an option for me anymore.
Yeah, he has way more than I
It's
do.
like trying to load all of these things into the library, and I'm like, stop.
Just chill out for a minute.
But yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun moment in time being part of that professionally and personally, and kind of getting to be part of a generation from the very beginning. And now it's like coming to an end. It's kind of emotional.
I think today might be the anniversary of the Xbox One launch.
Oh, today?
I think so, because I was going through my Facebook memories, and there's a picture of me, because I remember the PS4 and the Xbox One launched, I think it was a week apart.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a picture of me drunk, taking a selfie in the bathroom, saying I'm waiting for the Xbox One launch, and I'm drunk and taking a picture in the bathroom. So yeah,
It's a very apt
speak of the devil,
caption.
good timing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a fun launch. I just went to Best Buy and hung out in Best Buy.
It's all about that Connect life. That's what everybody was playing when Xbox One launched. All the
Oh,
Connect
yeah.
all the time.
I was,
Rise?
Oh yeah, Dance Central, man.
I think I was on the floor when they were talking about Connect. They made us put these fucking ponchos on, and they lit us up like during the conference, and I was like, this is weird, because I worked at IGN at the time, and I was like, this is allowed. Should we be part of your show? Should we not have agreed to this? Like, I don't know.
You just didn't want to wear a poncho.
Really didn't want to wear a poncho.
I'm with you. I hate ponchos.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. So the 360 I came in on after it had launched, but I did like a school study on the launch of it. But I find it funny to like look at the launch of those two things and then look at the launch of Xbox One and then the PlayStation 4 and just how both consoles like flipped in terms of consumer attitude toward them.
Yeah.
And it made me really sad because I loved my Xbox 360 and I, obviously disclosure, I worked for Microsoft. Well, not directly for Microsoft, but they were one of our accounts in PR. And so I just had like a natural affinity for that brand. And
the Xbox 360 was definitively better than the PS3.
Yeah. I played
Fight
only
me.
PS3 exclusives on my PS3. Otherwise, it never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And then I played literally everything else on my 360. But yeah, and then to like now go into this generation where it's flipped has been weird. And I am just so eager and so curious to see how next gen's gonna go.
Yeah.
Which way is this dice gonna roll? Which way are we going? We going back to Xbox? Is it gonna stay the way it is? I don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will
I'm
tell.
excited.
So I think like
to see.
of everything that's happened in my life, I am most excited about what is about to happen because I have now experienced both sides of the coin and I just want to see. And Nintendo's always off doing their own thing, which I respect.
It's true.
Yeah, it's just one less thing to stress about.
Yeah.
I always stress about it sometimes.
Exactly. Head-to-head comparisons are easier anyway. But yeah, it'll be the first console launch that we cover together on What's Good
That's
Games.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Midnight launch.
I'm down.
Unless we're good enough to get
I'm like,
review
yeah, I
consoles.
would.
I mean, of course we are.
I mean,
Of course
let
we're
me
getting review
rephrase that.
consoles.
Hey,
We're good enough.
After Party sent me some cool.
They didn't send
mixology
me
kits.
cool mixology stuff.
Oh,
but I'm the
me.
bartender.
I know. I didn't realize you didn't get it. I just got I saw a notification for like a random package, but I was like,
But
I
she
was in
got
Europe.
custom art made.
Oh, I did.
And I feel like I'm the one who was like, you guys got to check out this game. I feel so left out.
It's okay. I share the kit with you.
Thank you. We're going to be making drinks with it on the happy
Yes,
hour
we are.
Q&A in just a little bit. So I did want to quickly touch on that Thanksgiving question that was the runner-up, just because we are going into Thanksgiving next week, and I thought it was kind of a fun one. So it was
Basically, what are your must-haves, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres for Thanksgiving?
So every Thanksgiving, I make an appetizer that is my dad's recipe, and it is a spinach and artichoke dip that is
I wanna
to
eat
die
it.
for. It's essentially 3 kinds of cheeses.
Yes.
Marinated canned artichokes and frozen spinach. Frozen is the key because I tried it with fresh spinach one year when I was like, I'm going to make this super organic and healthy. And when you use fresh spinach that hasn't already been blanched, it turns the whole thing green.
Is that bad?
Yes. I mean, not from a flavor perspective,
meant
but from a
from-
visual perspective, it looks terrifying.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not like just like a dark green, it's like a bright ass green.
That actually sounds fun.
And so
But, like,
the
for, like,
texture was off because the fresh spinach has a lot more water in it.
Yes.
Than
Yeah, you have to, like,
the blanched
boil it
frozen
down.
stuff.
I don't know what you're about to say,
Oh.
but I'm very excited.
Well, I was saying you could do it like at Halloween and make it like a booger dip.
There it is. I knew you were going to say something Steimery.
Yes. I didn't think about that. But maybe we'll have to try that next year.
I could just tell you have that look in your eyes.
I was like, I'm
oh.
excited. Oh boy, the brain wheels are a turning.
I love it. But the key, of course, is a lot of garlic powder.
Oh.
It's delicious. It's really good. So that's one of my favorite things.
I'm trying to think. I mean, we just usually my mom makes a really good green bean casserole. That's
I
kind
love
of
me
like
some green bean casserole.
Yeah, that's like the iconic thing. And then I just love the Costco pies. I'm just gonna be that bitch and just.
I mean,
Costco pies
I
are
mean,
delicious.
Costco pumpkin pie is like
Oh.
goat.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Makes me want to go pick one up right now.
Let's go to Costco.
Get some pumpkin
Get some
pie.
pumpkin pie, get some edible undies, and we can
Get
watch
some
Fortnite porn.
Oreos because I now
Oh, no,
have a
Oreos.
random hankering for them.
Yeah.
Oreos do sound delicious.
I just drink whiskey too on Thanksgiving. I don't have like a special cocktail that I drink.
I feel
Yeah.
like you just are like
I just do wine usually.
like a whiskey person at any occasion.
I kind of am.
Yeah.
That's
But I
true.
do appreciate that when we do stuff from time to time, you'll be like, I want to try some of that.
And then
I
you
do.
make a face.
And then I make a face.
We all know you hate it, but you won't say you hate it.
But sometimes she makes faces and then she wants more of it anyway.
Like wine.
That's the
Some wines.
self-loathing that's in her.
Self-loathing.
I think it's just
Why are you
her,
calling
her
me out,
strong,
Steimer?
her strong desire to want to
I've
fit
missed
in.
you.
Oh shit. Yeah, you know, it's a thing. I had some wine last night that tasted kind of weird, but kind of good. I don't remember what it was.
Good weird.
It was a rosé of Grenache Gris, which is very different. There's not a lot of rosés that are made from Grenache Gris, and the thing that's different about it is that it doesn't get its color from time on the skins. It gets its color because the grape is just that color. The juice is like
Well,
that
now I
kind of.
want to try it.
I was
I have some in the
interested
fridge.
because
I
you said
assumed
it
that you
tasted
did.
like juice.
It's one of the few.
Is it low alcohol?
No.
Okay.
But like something about the aftertaste just remind me so much of like actual grape juice, and wine usually doesn't
Interesting.
taste that way.
Wait, so Brittany, you were not a fan?
After the third sip, it was better. I told her it tasted like maybe the grapes had sat out in the sun for too long. You know, like when people put like fruit or vegetables on the windowsill to like cook them just a little longer. Like you
I've literally never heard of this.
pluck
now.
a tomato. It's a little green.
Is
stick it on
that
the
a
windowsill.
real thing?
You mean to ripen it,
Thank you.
I
Or
was
cook
like,
it.
I was like,
not to
who
cook
cooks
it,
their fucking
to
fruit?
to,
Not
to
literally
ripen
cook.
it.
Cook it naturally with the sun's UV rays. Anyway,
Yeah.
that tastes like the grapes were cooking too long. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
They
Fair
were
enough.
overripe.
Overcooked.
I actually don't disagree with you now that you've communicated accurately what you were tasting.
Listen, Andrew, you gotta learn to speak Brittany.
I'm surprised I haven't even learned a little bit, and we've known each other as long as we
You're
have.
getting there.
But yeah, I like drinking at Thanksgiving too. It's fun.
Yeah, everyone just gets hammered. It's great. I have napkins that I get every year. It says, I am thankful for a family who drinks.
Oh my gosh, I need those.
Mm-hmm.
I never drank. Like when it was just my. Is it nuclear? Is that what you call it? Your nuclear
Yeah.
family. That we never drank, even when I was older. We never did. But now when I go to my aunt's house, there's always like wine and stuff. So I will.
Wine.
I will drink the wine and have a glass and enjoy. But my favorite basic bitch Thanksgiving food is obviously mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah.
It's like fucking delicious. But what I'm in charge of this year is macaroni and cheese. Because I make some pretty bomb ass mac and cheese, if I do say so myself.
Have you ever made?
Because I use like fancy
No,
cheese.
She's never made us mac and cheese, Brittany.
You want me to make you mac and cheese?
Obviously.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I made it at Jackie's house once last year when we were like decorating her house for Christmas. So yeah, I'm happy to come make more. I use like I literally spend too much money on the cheese. I go to
I think
Whole
What's Good
Foods.
Games can maybe carve out some money in the
science.
budget
Yeah.
for cheese.
I use like Manchego and Guerrero and like all that, and I like a little bit of mozzarella, and then really nice cheddar. Like I go hard with the cheese selection.
I might have to throw Andrea out between us so I can just kind of get a little closer to you.
Wow,
while
it's
you
getting
talk
hot and
mac
heavy
cheese.
talking
Talking
about
about the
Manchego
I
up in
love
here.
Dude,
mac and cheese.
Manchego is the fucking greatest cheese of all
I
time.
don't even know what that is.
Ooh, what?
I would throw down for Manchego because raw milk Manchego.
Raw milk man.
Oh,
Is that
I
our
bet
curry?
I bet you that is.
Oh my god.
So how about I sign off?
Yeah,
Let's
yes,
say goodbye.
and we
Someone
will-
has to go to the door. We love you guys. We hope that you're thinking about food now and that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving next week. We, of course, will see you next Friday during Black Friday sales. We hope that you guys find some good deals, play some games, enjoy your time with your friends and family, or make that money if you're working. We love you guys. Goodbye.